Alrighty, howdy ho, friends. I'm sorry about that train wreck. I I'm working on a longer piece. I tried to do a little preview of it, and I just didn't have all my assets together and just ready to go. It's quite a long piece, and it has to do with the Stephen Donnelly character. So what we're here, let me just get a quick drink. We're just going to do the replay, okay? I have this longer piece. We're going to tell you all about Stephen Donnelly. I'm not going to do it right now. Just to tell you quickly that There are psyops going on here. That's what these public relations people do. Stephen Donnelly is in the center of this whole thing. He ties together all of the bad actors, all of the people that have been BSing us and giving us bad information, and they point fingers at me and Paul Connett and say bringers of disinformation. But I've shown, Paul's pretty darn credible when it comes to chemistry, and I always cite official sources so I can show you that I'm not just making this stuff up. Anyway, we're just going to get right into it right now, okay? We are going to get right into it. This is a replay of a Zoom meeting that just went on today, and it was only for what did they call it? I don't want to say elected officials. It was this is what it said. We are respectfully requesting your attendance. Wait a second. I just have to fix this really quick. How do I do this? I'm sorry about that. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope you are having... it is summer. I hope you're having a good summer. A good summer. It always feels like when the solstice happens that the summer, for me, feels like it's halfway over. Okay, this is Stephen Donnelly. This is what he set out. I'm only going to say this to show you the announcement for this meeting that we're going to watch. And there's another meeting coming up tomorrow. Unfortunately, the time limit has passed. They're not going to have any kind of interaction from the rabble. I mean the public. You had to get your questions in by last week. So the deadline's already passed for getting a question in. But everybody can get on the Zoom and tomorrow and at least observe. Basically, it's going to be the same presentation. But so this is going to give you a preview. And there was some interaction with some elected officials in here that were pretty interesting. So I'm just going to make commentary in one or two spots. I'm mostly going to just let this thing roll. But I wanted you to see that this is from Stephen Donnelly, Public Relations, SDAMK, MKTG. He's such a branding expert. He came up with this really catchy domain name. Anyway, whatever. Stephen Donnelly on Tuesday announced this Sungeel community forum. I guess they call it Sungeel. Sungeel. They were pronouncing it Sungeel today on the phone. So Sungeel, maybe that's the best pronunciation, but it looks like Sungeel or Sungeel. We are respectfully requesting your attendance for a community leader forum. Somehow a little birdie sent me this. So I really appreciate people that send me things from time to time. I don't have does this have my email address? I don't think it does. WilliamAHouston@gmail.com. I'm pretty easy to find on social media. If you want to send me stuff, I always protect my sources. Somebody sent me a copy of this, and it was very helpful because I was able to observe it today. So the purpose of this Zoom session is to inform you, a respected leader of the local community, of the facts related to the Sungeel project and to dispel the myths that have been presented by a select few individuals. They're starting to single me out, and especially Paul Connett, and even, who else were they going? Who were they going after? Somebody. I heard they were going after Ted, or the mayor's going after Ted Warner. So they're going after anybody that speaks out about this incinerator, and that is what it is. It's a 2-stage incinerator, and better educate ourselves on the surrounding both the company and the processing that will take place. This one's going to be closed in order for transparency, right? We're going to close it to the public, and we're going to have another one is going to be tomorrow on the 30th. Okay, that's what this is. That's the official announcement. Now we're just going to get in and we're going to watch this thing, and I'm mostly going to let it roll, but there's a couple times I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to make some commentary, but mostly I'm going to disappear. So here is as it happened, recorded live at 2:30 today.
For now, to answer some of the questions that the DEC has asked us, and we're kind of having an open dialogue. There were some comments made earlier this week, or actually end of last week, saying that, well, the DEC has asked these guys questions and they haven't come back.
I'm sorry. So I have to bring this up, and I have to start it over. I'll just start it over. Let me just zip forward until it really starts.
Now, so first off, thank you everyone for joining us today. We certainly appreciate it. This is an opportunity for us to really educate folks regarding the Sungeel project that's going on in Endicott.
Sungeel.
We're very excited about it, and of course, we feel like there's a lot of power in education. So, with that said, I'm going to go around just in the group here, and I'm going to allow some of the folks from Sungeel, to just kind of introduce themselves. They have an idea of kind of, you have an idea of who's on the call and kind of some of what their credentials are. So maybe Dinesh, if we start with you, if you wouldn't mind, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. I'm Danish Mir. I'm the president of SMCC and project.
Great.
Everyone, I'm Sering Wong. So I'm the project manager looking after the development of the facility at Endicott.
Great. Tom?
I'm Tom McIntyre. I'm the chief process engineer for Metallica Commodities.
Thank you. And David, Kim, I believe you're also on with us as well.
Yeah, this is David. I'm working for the Metallica. I'll do the SMCC for the commercial side.
Great. And like I said, folks, I mean, you're all in this meeting because, we consider you all leaders within our community. So again, our whole thing is about education and transparency. So we really want to utilize this as an opportunity. Danish has prepared a presentation. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make him the host so that he can kind of run through a little bit about the project. And at the end, we will have a session for Q&A. So anybody at the end can kind of go through and ask any questions that they may have, or any other types of clarifying comments, things like that.
So this guy here, this is Stephen Donnelly. And this is the guy, I'm telling you, this is the guy that has had a central role in this whole thing. I'm going to let this thing roll. And if, depending on how I feel and if I can get these assets together, I might try to redo the presentation that I did earlier, and when I kind of had a technical problem and kind of had a train wreck. So I might redo that later. But right now, let's just go through and listen to this. This is Stephen Donnelly. He's the guy that put this whole thing together. He's the public relations guy, okay?
With that said, I'm going to go ahead, Danish, and make you the host, and then we'll allow you to start running through the presentation.
Okay, great.
All right, Danish, you should have the control now. We're also going to do a screen share, so we'll be going through the presentation so you guys can visually see it as well.
Okay, so you guys see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, great. So let's just get into it. So Sungeel MCC Americas is a JV between Metallica Commodities Corp and Sungeel High Tech. Sungeel has been recycling lithium-ion batteries for the past decade. They're the industry leader, and they are the largest recyclers of lithium-ion batteries in the world. MCC is a trading company. MCC trades materials that are recyclable. Past 19 years, they've been specializing in trading materials for recycling. They were doing it long before recycling anything to do. So We have technology experts here and market experts combining together to form this JV. Project over the course of the project, we'll be investing over 10 million. We have over $1 million into this project, and to invest more as the technology advances. As we'll get into it later, you'll see how we're working on improving this technology. As far as people,
I just want to say I apologize because the audio, the original audio on this thing is pretty dodgy. So I'm, it is what it is. I might be able to improve some of this on post, but I'm sorry about the dodgy audio, but that's just how it came across.
We're looking at about 20 jobs day one, actually probably prior to day one. Field managers, engineers, operators, technicians. It's a good mix of people. And the important thing is that battery recycling is a growth industry. It's something that's going to grow. Everything that we use is powered by lithium-ion batteries. Some people drive EVs that are powered by lithium-ion batteries. We're having this call on tablets and computers. They're all powered by lithium-ion batteries. Our phones are lithium-ion batteries. You can't escape lithium-ion batteries. They're in toys, power tools, you name it. That's the future, lithium-ion batteries. And we have a way to recycle them. Now, there's been a lot of talk that the DEC just rushed this thing through and it was done very fast. But in reality, it's a 2-year process that we've gone through that we're still working on, and it's not complete. I think a lot of things have been said about this project without any basis, and people just like to throw stuff out there. I think we want to kind of stick with facts and stuff that can be backed up without just throwing accusations and throwing out scientific data without any backup.
So there, he's just making some vague accusations there without anything substantive, and that's what they do. They just say, well, they've been putting out a lot of misinformation, but they don't say exactly what that misinformation really was.
We worked hard with the DEC. We've had full disclosure with the DEC, and we continue to have full disclosure with the community. So this whole concept of this thing being done hush hush quickly with the DEC, I don't know where that comes from.
So I do want to comment on that. So first of all, because he says it was, the people have been saying it was rushed, and I did say that, especially back when, basically out of his timeline right here, the time when that I found out about it was September of 2019, and very few people. It was a very, very small meeting at WBESC, Western Broome Environmental Stakeholders Coalition. Okay, so he says it's been going on since the summer of 2018, but really it was getting into the fall of 2019 before anybody in the community really found out about it. Donna Lupardo knew about it. Jason Garner knew about it. Former Mayor Frank Bertoni knew about it. Did they bother to research it and to tell us that they were bringing an incinerator to town? No. In fact, they just repeated the ESD cover story, Empire State Development. So he's saying, was it rushed? Well, we only found out and then most people only found out about it. I started making videos in a couple of months. I had a rough time there for a minute late last year. So I had some transitions in my life, so I didn't get the video out until November when I finally put the video out. And the informational hearing And then most people didn't really find out about it until the permit got issued, which was, or there was a draft permit, I think, issued in, when was that, April? No, it had to be before March. So whenever that draft permit came through, I'll tell you the exact date. Let me just look it up really quick. I have it here. So, because, let me just look at this. Stand by 1 second. It was September. When was it that? That'd be before this? No, it was 2020. I'm sorry. Okay, so all right, so it was, they announced, okay, so basically the permit was issued. Yeah, there it is. So March 25, the permit was issued. I'm sorry, the March 30th. March 27, the amended negative declaration. March 30th, the DEC issued the permit. I think that there was some press that happened there, and that press got some attention, and some people called me, and all of a sudden we had a big giant resistance group. Okay, so it was between, basically the community really wasn't alerted to anything about what this was. The DEC says that they they noticed it, which means printed in the newspaper or whatever, but the people didn't, because the press was speaking gobbledygook. They were saying recycling facility. There was no mention of any 500 degree C to 1000 degree C high temperature rotary kiln. There was no mention of that really until the Bill Huston podcast started telling you about it back in November of 2019. So the point is, there was a big delay from summer of 2018 when, he says that, the DEC first became aware, and I'm not even sure I have any documents that go back that far, till basically it was March of 2019. So was it transparent? Did Donna Lupardo explain the process to you? Did Jason Garner go explain the process of what this thing was about? Did they understand that it was an incinerator? Maybe they were duped too. I don't know. But anyway, the point is that, and then they basically gave us 30 days to file comments, and they graciously extended it to something like 60 days. They gave her another 45 days, something like that. They gave us a couple of more weeks. They still didn't give us a public hearing, and they still robbed us of the process, which was, it should have been a Type 1 seeker review that would have gained us at least a coordinated review, and very much possibly also a 1 to 4 public hearings and an environmental impact statement, which is what concerned citizens of Endicott has been asking from day one. Okay, so was this process, we basically, most people found out about it when the permit got issued. They had like 60 days or something to file comments. That's not a lot of time. 60 days is not a lot of time to learn about this and to figure it all out, because it takes months. It took me months of study to learn about all of this. And, I tried getting out the information as I found out this information. So I'm just saying, was this transparent and open by the DEC? Imagine if the Bill Huston podcast didn't exist. Imagine where we all would be right now with this thing. It probably would be like belching, 8 pounds of sulfuric acid into the air, and dioxins, and at least 4, according to Paul, cancer-causing compounds into the air by now if it wasn't for me. So I'm just saying, friends, I work in the public interest. I really survive on donations and grants. So if you enjoy my work, I do original research and original journalism that nobody else is doing, and there's no NGOs that are funding me. There's no I do some work for one, but it doesn't pay me enough to live on. So I really rely upon donations and grants. If you find this work that I do valuable, I protect clean air and clean water, and I've done this work in Endicott for almost coming up on 10 years now. Okay, so please donate if you can. I really could use it. I'm $1,000 in the hole right now. tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Huston. I really need an infusion of cash. So thank you very much. And if you don't do the PayPal, you can also send it. You can also send it via USPS, William Huston, P.O. Box 22, Endicott, New York, 13761. Let's get back to Danish Mir.
Town executives, to the community in the big auditorium in Endicott. We have multiple meetings with the DEC. So I see this as full engagement, and we're sitting here talking to you guys, again, engaging you guys. But we're not trying to just slip something by. I just wanted to touch on our process. A couple of people. Okay.
This is just how it played out, friends.
This is the whole.
Hello?
Yes. Okay. So this is our flow process, right? And I'm going to go through it. And so the permit and the DEC and EPA regulations tell us that we need to have two separate buildings. One is storage building and one is recycling building.
Okay, we got to correct that right now, okay? Let's go back and listen to what he said one more time, and then I'm going to correct it, because this is BS. This is not true, and I've shown you the documents, and let's just go through it one more time. Listen to what he says very carefully.
Okay. This is the whole.
Hello?
Yes.
I don't know who that is. Sounds like Ted Warner.
Okay. So this is our flow process, right? And I'm going to go through it. And so the permit and the DEC and EPA regulations tell us that we need to have two separate buildings. One is storage building and one is recycling building.
Okay, so he just said the EPA and the DEC requires them to have it in two buildings. That's not true at all. That's not true at all. They're putting it in two buildings. In fact, they were talking about even creating a separate corporate entity to make it look like it's two different companies, even though it's basically on one site. It's here on campus. It's a single entity, one building to another. They're trying to make it look like it's two different sites. And this is to avoid, oh boy, I don't know if I can find this for you quickly, friends. This is to avoid a particular kind of regulatory scheme. Did you get that? He's saying that the DEC is requiring them to put basically the incinerator and the crash and bash in two separate buildings. And that is I'm going to say it's a lie. It's not true. It's definitely not true. And I'm pretty sure he knows the truth. Danish Mir, the guy that just told you that, he knows the truth. And I'm going to show you what the truth is right now. As soon as I find the right, here it is. Okay, so so this is a letter by Thomas. Can you see that? Oh boy. Okay, you can't see that. Let me just fix it. This is from, he's an attorney, Thomas Fusillo. Hope I'm saying the name right. Fusillo of Barclay and Damon. Thomas Fusillo of Barclay and Damon. Let's do it like this. And he's going to tell you exactly what that was. This is such an important point, friends, because this just shows you the kind of BS and gaslighting that these people do. They try to pull a fast one on us, okay? So this is Thomas. This is the attorney that represents the applicant, okay? They're talking about what are they doing? They're building a proposed universal waste destination facility and a universal waste handling facility. A destination facility and a handling facility, okay? Because if they didn't have two, Thomas Fusillo says that they would be regulated as a TSDF, a hazardous waste treatment, storage, and disposal facility. It's a regulatory scheme. Thomas Fusillo says this is an onerous regulatory scheme that they can't afford, that Sungeel can't afford basically to follow strict regulations. So they want to get around. I'm not kidding, friends. You can see it with your own eyes right here, okay? On the Bill Huston podcast, you are looking at it with your own eyes, okay? So what does he say? It is crucial to the economic viability of the facility to avoid the onerous TSDF regulatory scheme by meeting the exemption contained in. He's trying to get an exemption from following the regulations. That's why they're putting it in two buildings. Not because the DEC is forcing them to. He just wants to avoid being regulated as a treatment, a treatment, storage, or disposal facility, a TSDF. He doesn't like those regulations, Thomas Fusillo. He goes, we don't want to follow those regs. So it's crucial to the economic viability of this facility to avoid the onerous TSDF regulations. So that is BS and gaslighting, what he just said right there. They're not doing it because they're being forced to. They're doing it because they want to avoid being regulated.
In the storage building is when you receive the batteries, where we discharge them, and where we store them in a safe manner. At the recycling building, we're only allowed to have enough material for 1 day's production. So material gets shipped daily. Now, one thing to point out is lithium-ion batteries, to some degree, is a very generic term. There are lots of different kinds of lithium-ion batteries with lots of different chemistries. The ones that we recycle are the ones that have cobalt. The ones that have economic value are the ones that we recycle.
Hey, Danish, can I
Sorry to interrupt. Could everybody put themselves on mute, because every time there's a sound, it drowns out the speaker, and it's really hard to hear what's happening. Thanks so much.
Yeah, Pam, thank you for saying that. I was actually going to say the exact same thing. So yeah, if everybody could mute their volume, we would appreciate it. It's an option right there in Zoom. You can hit the mute button, and that will help to make a smoother presentation. Thank you, Pam.
So the batteries come in, they get into the production facility where they're dismantled. They're removed. If it's EV batteries, they're removed from the cell. All the outer casings are removed. If it comes from battery packs, which are smaller modules within the EV, the packs are separated. The plastic is recycled. The chips are recycled. The electronics are recycled. Every part of that battery is recycled. People refer to us incinerating batteries. If you incinerate a battery, you're getting rid of the battery. I want to make this very clear. We are recycling batteries.
Okay, that is complete gaslighting. Once again, complete gaslighting. He's saying that they aren't an incinerator, okay? He's saying we are not an incinerator. And you know what I'm going to show for you right now? I'm going to show you the I'm going to show you an excerpt from the ELTR. Oh, it's not the ELTR. I want to do the EPA. Sorry, EPA. So this is the Environmental Protection Agency, okay, US EPA, and this is all about, this isn't the highlighted one, but it's the facility applicability. This is from the EPA. Industrial solid waste incinerator units. They're saying, does this meet the regulatory requirement of a commercial CI performance for a commercial and industrial solid waste incineration unit? That's called a CISWI. Okay? CIS-SISWI unit. And at the end, on page 2, this guy, let's read his name first, Robert Buettner. He's the chief of the Air Compliance Branch, Enforcement and Compliance Assurance Division. There's his signature, Robert Buettner, with the EPA. Did you see the logo at the top of the first page? I'm not kidding. Am I making this up? Is this Bill Huston making this up? Is this some crackpot using Google? This is the United States Environmental Protection Agency, July 16th, 2019. And Robert Buettner says, this leads us to believe that the SMCC rotary kiln dryer meets the definition of a CISWI unit, a commercial and industrial solid waste incinerator unit. It's an incinerator. So he's playing word games and he's trying to, he's dancing around, doing his Danish dance, and he's trying to gaslight you. He's trying to make you think like, somehow that something, whether it has an open flame or not, that's what matters, or it's whether it's in the presence of oxygen or not, that's what matters. In their own documents. Did you see this? Let me show you this really quick. I hope I can find this. Well, I lost the connection there for a second. Okay, but this is what I want to show you. Back to this, okay? So, is this the one? I think this is the one. Ongoing queries, okay? This is a different version of that same PowerPoint that he was just presenting, okay? Danish Mir. This is great, okay? So what did he just say? Do you remember what he just said? He goes, there's no incineration going on. Let's read what his own words are. I think, let's verify that. Let's go to the properties. Who wrote this thing? Okay, it doesn't have, it's somebody at somebody at his company wrote this, The purpose of the dryer, it's not a dryer, there's no moisture in those batteries. The purpose of the dryer is to prepare the battery cells for grinding. Yeah, I would say that. And then he says, let me get rid of this. The fact that it operates above the auto ignition temperature of some of the battery cell's components, e.g. the plastic pouch, indicates these materials will burn. What? This is Sungeel. This is page 14 of a document. You can find this document on, I think it's the Village of Endicott website is where I found this. Listen to what he says. The fact that it operates above the auto ignition temperature, that's like for paper, it's 451 degrees Fahrenheit. The auto ignition temperature of some of the battery cell's components, e.g. the plastic pouch, indicates these materials will burn. Burn Incinerate. Okay? There it is. It's in their own documentation. So we have, I just showed you the EPA says it's an incinerator. SMCC themselves say the materials in the rotary kiln are going to burn. And that is the design. It's not a dryer. The idea is to get rid of the impurities, get rid of this plastic. It's the fastest way for them to do it is to burn it. And then they try to, clean the waste stream, put it through a bag house. Does it work? Some of the stuff it works for, not everything. There's still going to be toxic emissions, okay? So there it is, okay? This is, once again, look at this, SMCC Information Release Package. Do you see that at the bottom? No, you can't see that from where you are. So SMCC Information Package, okay? May 7th, page 4. This is their own materials. He says, oh yeah, it's going to burn. There's stuff in there that's going to burn. So he's going to do some more gaslighting, but I just wanted to make that very, 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 very clear to you.
All the batteries that come in, depending on what criteria you use, 92 to 99% of the battery is recycled. All the components are very expensive and they're worth.
Could everybody put the
They're removed from the cell. All the outer casings are removed.
I'm going to play this again.
If it comes from battery packs, which are smaller modules within the EV, the packs are separated. The plastic is recycled. The chips are recycled. The electronics are recycled. Every part of that battery.
Wait a minute. I just read to you that he just said some of the plastic isn't recycled. Some of the plastic is burned. It's in this very presentation, an earlier version of this presentation. It says the plastic's going to be burned. That means it's going to go into the air. So is that lying? Is he unaware that he's speaking a falsehood? Does he not know that I think he's aware of it. He's trying to deceive you. He's lying. He's lying. Okay, let's.
Is recycled. People refer to us incinerating batteries. If you incinerate a battery, you're getting rid of the battery.
I just showed you the EPA, friends. EPA calls this thing an incinerator. They say the materials in it are going to burn. SMCC admits it. What's he saying here?
I want to make this very clear. We are recycling batteries.
Yeah, duh. You still are operating an incinerator too. And I love how Dr. Paul Connett says. He says it's a two-stage incinerator. It's got the rotary kiln that it runs in an oxygen deprived environment, and then it's got the afterburner, which is where oxygen is added to the process.
All the batteries that come in, depending on what criteria you use, 92 to 99% of the battery is recycled. All the components are very expensive and they're worth a lot of money. Are very to 99% of that battery incinerating batteries. If you incinerate a battery, you're getting rid of the battery. I want to make this very clear. We are recycling batteries. All the batteries that come in, depending on what criteria you use, 92 to 99% of the battery is recycled.
Okay, 92 is the low bound. Okay, so let's do a little math, shall we? I wish I could make that bigger, but let's do. We know it's about a ton. Is it a ton per hour? Hold on. Well, we can do it right here. So we know it's 5,000 tons per year divided by 52 weeks in a year. That's 96 tons a week divided by, I think it's going to be 7 days a week. So it's 13 tons a day. So what did he say? 92%? No, I think he said 92%.
that battery is recycled. That battery is chips are recycled, the electronics are recycled. Every part of that battery is recycled. People refer to us incinerating batteries.
Sorry.
If you incinerate a battery, you're getting rid of the battery. I want to make this very clear. We are recycling batteries. All the batteries that come in, depending on what criteria you use, 92 to 99% of the battery is recycled.
Okay, so let's just say that out of this 13.7 tons per day, let's say times, let's say 90.92%. Okay, and that's going to be, actually, I'm going to do that backwards. Let's do divided by 0.92. Okay, I got to start that over. Let's try that one over. 5,000 tons per year divided by 52 weeks. I think it might be 2 weeks off. Let's just do it like this. This is going to get us close. 96 divided by 7 days a week. 13.7 tons per day times, let's do times 0.08. That's going to be how much is going to go up into the air. Okay. Now, yes, some of it's going to be collected in the bag house, but not all of it. So let's see how much of that's actually going to go up in the air. This is the worst case. So it's a ton. 1.09 tons times 2,000. So that's about, it's over 2,000 pounds every day. 2,000 pounds, 1 ton of something is going to go up in the air. So can they capture all that? I don't know. Good question. I sincerely doubt it.
All the components are very expensive and they're worth a lot of money. So it doesn't make sense for us to lose them.
Nobody's saying that you lose them during the process of incineration. It's a metals refining process. He knows this.
I just had a gentleman engage me earlier today saying, well, you shouldn't incinerate batteries. You should recycle them. And I just looked really puzzled. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're not incinerating batteries. We're recycling them.
No, they are incinerating batteries and recycling them. They can do both. Okay? More gaslighting. He's lying.
The guy goes, no, you're incinerating batteries. I'm like, listen, you haven't even read our stuff. How can you say we're incinerating batteries when 92 to 99% of the batteries goes back out in the form of some recycled material?
Well, I've read your stuff, and I just read it a second ago that said that, that some of these materials do burn, and it looks like it's going to be I don't know if that's a ton of plastic. I think there's other kinds of metals and impurities in there besides just plastic that's in binders and things, electrolytes, I don't know what all. That's all going to be going up into the air. But about a ton per day, 1 ton every single day of something's going to go up into the air.
But enough about that. The heat treatment process. I think this is the heart of the matter that's causing a lot of confusion and heartache for people. And I just kind of wanted to explain it to everybody real quick. Tom, I may ask you to jump in if I need some help, but basically the batteries go into a dryer. The dryer runs at 600 degrees Celsius. What that dryer does, it makes the batteries very brittle. Because the next stage, as you can see, is the crushing. So the batteries are in this furnace that's running at 600 degrees and made brittle. goes to the shredding process. I'll get to that later, but I want to explain the rest of the heat treatment process. So,
Sorry,
gases from treating the batteries going to an.
Sorry, I realized my mic was off. Let me just say this one more time. So basically, the first stage of the afterburner is going to be 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. 600 degrees C is about 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the afterburner is going to be 1,000 degrees C, because that's what's needed to annihilate these nasty compounds. That's coming up. 1,000 degrees C is about 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is super hot. Okay, this is almost getting to the temperatures where, metals, start turning into liquid. Okay, like a metal smelter.
Afterburner. And that afterburner is going to run at about 900 degrees Celsius. So any problematic gases that come out of the heat treatment, and we can get into this later, go through the afterburner where they're destroyed, thermally destroyed.
Timeout. So, how many people have heard about the conservation laws? Energy can either be, energy is conserved in any kind of a transfer function. Energy is conserved, mass is conserved. That means matter is neither created nor destroyed. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. Okay? You cannot destroy atoms. You can turn it up to 1,000 degrees, whatever. You keep on going hotter and hotter. It doesn't destroy anything. You can chemically change it. You cannot destroy compounds. And what happens is, with some of these, I think it's the dioxins, it might be the PFASs. I think it's the dioxins. They split apart in the afterburner, and it does kind of make them into a less toxic thing. It doesn't destroy them. They're still there. They're just translated into something different, a different kind of an element. It's like it's decomposed into ions. But as it cools, this is one of the problems in these afterburners have, especially in the presence of certain catalysts, like copper, I think, is one. Some ordinary materials act as catalysts, where these materials reform in the flue as it cools, as the gases cool. This is a big problem. The reformation of these, deadly compounds that he says are being destroyed in the afterburner. It's not true. It's more BS. It's not scientific. It's science BS.
Then there's a waste heat boiler system, dust collector, and then it goes into a wet scrubber, which collects anything. Then we go out to emissions. We have one of the lowest emissions, and I'll get into that in a further slide. And I want to articulate that, because when I say low emissions, it doesn't register. And I really wanted to point out how our emissions are low. So I will get into that in a couple of slides down, and also discuss PFASs, which has come up recently, and we'll discuss those also. So I will come back to this one discussing those other two topics. But then the material goes into shredding, grinding, milling. There's a vibration separation of it. It goes to a cyclone dust collector, which again feeds back into the battery powder. Basically, our end product is a battery powder, which has got cobalt, lithium, nickel, and manganese. And as a lot of people are very interested in doing is Google those elements, and you'll see how expensive they are. We want to capture every gram of that stuff. It's important to the project. It's important to the economics of it that all these valuable metals get caught so we can recover them and they can be used to make batteries. Once again, these elements are not being incinerated. They are being recycled and recovered. Right?
BS.
Now, this black powder
BS. Incineration is definitely a part of this process. The EPA says so. Thomas Elter with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation says so. Judith Inc. says so, former EPA regional administrator. Dr. Paul Connett says so. He's an expert on incinerators. I say so. I'm just a regular guy, but it doesn't take a genius or a PhD to figure out that something, high temperature, write down, forget about the name, okay? Forget about what it's called, okay? Write down the description of a functional description, okay? In engineering, we don't deal with, we sometimes deal with jargon, but a lot of times we deal with functional descriptions. You can call it foo, glib glab, you could call it, bozo breath, you could call it a whole bunch of different things, okay? The name doesn't matter. Let's look at the functional description. Very first set of videos that I did, there's a what is it video. Watch that what is it video, because I compare the functional description of a rotary kiln and the functional description of an incinerator, and it's like basically what kind of temperature does it operate at? Does it use pyrolysis, which is this oxygen-deprived environment? Does it use oxidation? Does it run down the list, bam, 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 and there's basically no difference. There's no difference. This thing is an incinerator, and he's trying to make up, he and his buddy Stephen Donnelly, this public relations BS artist, these spin doctors, okay? They make up this narrative to try to confuse people, and that's what it is. It's pure confusion. And by the way, nobody was asking for this meeting. This is just what they're trying to do to get everybody on board. They're desperate, okay? They know they're in trouble. That's what this meeting is. This meeting is this way because they're in trouble. All of you, God bless you, all you people out there with a sign in your yard, people that have been talking to your neighbors, helping to do this protest petition survey thing, raising money for the attorney. God bless all of you, okay, all of you. This massive community group that's formed. I've never been so proud to live in Endicott, to see the size of this resistance movement, because you all are we're going to run these people out of town. And this project is in trouble because they wouldn't be holding these community meetings. Nobody wants these community meetings. What we want is the DEC to follow the law, okay? The DEC has not followed the law. They gave us this half-assed environmental review called an unlisted seeker action. We should have gotten a type 1 seeker action. We should have gotten an environmental impact study. All this PFAS stuff that's going on right now, it's a distraction. This dog and pony show is a distraction, okay? The real deal is we all need to be beating on the DEC and demanding that the DEC basically follow the law. Let's just get them to follow the law. I'm not necessarily against this facility. I haven't decided that this facility hasn't been done safely, but show us. Let's get those 4 public hearings, beginning with scoping, draft EIS, final EIS, and the permit. That's 4 public hearings. We were denied. Environmental impact statement. All you got to do is show 1 impact. Come on. No Burn Broom and concerned citizens of Endicott have identified dozens of potential impacts, and all it takes is 1. Come on, DEC. Come on, Governor Cuomo. What kind of chumps do you take us for? Yeah, I know. First class. I know. You think we're first class chumps. Well, we're not.
Goes off to Korea, where it goes through a hydro process. Now, there's been some misunderstanding about the hydro process too.
Okay, I got to tell you, here's more. It's like, I'm sorry, this is the section where I'm going to interrupt a couple of times, because this is where he really goes through and goes blah, 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 makes up a bunch of stuff. Hydro. What does the word hydro mean? It means water, okay? Same thing with in Pennsylvania, northeast Pennsylvania, when they're doing hydrofracking, they say wastewater. They say it's a water process. Once that stuff comes up out of the ground, it ain't water anymore, and it's really hard to get the clean water out of there. It's basically contaminated for like a long, long, long time until nature can do its thing. Okay, they like to say water, and they like to say steam to make it seem like it's harmless and benign. This thing, what they told us it was called back when they met with Western Broom, is they called it solvent extraction. Guess what? Water is a solvent, but they're not doing it with water. They're using nasty, strong chemicals in order to, chelate out or to, basically, it forms like an anode. They use like electrochemical process to basically extract the pure metal back out of the thing. It's not a hydro process. I wouldn't call it. Hydro is a gaslighting term. He called it before solvent extraction. That's a little bit better. It's not hydro. Oh.
It makes the batteries very brittle. Goes off to Korea, where it goes through a hydro process. Now, there's been some misunderstanding about the hydro process too. People think that we are conducting the hydro process in Endicott. We are not. The battery powder gets shipped to Korea, where the hydro process takes place. The hydro process itself is another $25 million investment, and it's a whole different business.
Hold it. $25 million investment? Why did he bring that up if they're already doing it in Korea? Listen very carefully here, friends, because here's another thing. I'm in terms of my predictions, I don't get everything right, but I have a pretty darn good track record, okay? I even told you the temperature they were going to raise the rotary kiln. I already said it's going to be 1,000 degrees. They're going to go from 800 to 1,000. That's exactly what they're doing. Do I have a PhD in chemistry? No, but I got some pretty good horse sense about things, okay? Right here, he said,
powder gets shipped to Korea, where the hydro process takes place. The hydro process itself is another $25 million investment. And
$25 million investment, okay? Right across the street on Franklin Street, if you've ever been driven by there, is this massive industrial waste treatment facility that's presently idled. I'm telling you, their plans are to do solvent extraction here in Binghamton, here in Endicott, in addition to this incineration facility, this incineration plan. Okay, they're going to have liquid wastes, massive quantities of liquid wastes, and they're going to have massive quantities of stuff going up into the air. They want to turn Endicott into the battery waste treatment disposal center of the universe. That's what they're trying to do here, okay?
It's a whole different business. So basically, we make the battery powder that goes for hydro processing in Korea. So we are basically the first part of the whole hydro process. And the first part takes place here, or will hopefully take place in Endicott. Moving right along. PFASs. More people in the waiting room. Do I just let people in?
Yep, you can go ahead, Donish.
Okay, PFAS. There's been a lot of talk about PFAS. Everybody is afraid of PFAS. What is PFAS? PFAS is a fluorine compound coating. It's found on pizza boxes that you bring home from pizza when you have pizza. Found in electronics. It's found in some clothing. It's found in your nonstick pots and pans. It's prevalent in anything that requires plating. it's basically everywhere. PFAS has also come into the intention that it has deleterious effects on humans, and a lot of research has started in the past few years to try to come up with standards, try to come up with rules around PFASs. But we studied PFASs and their use in batteries. PFASs were predominantly used to coat the binders within the cells of the batteries. The separator sheets, they were used as a coating on that. So at best, they account for 0.5% of a battery. Now, in 2015, when the negative effects of PFASs were first known, the battery manufacturers that made the binders stopped using PFASs. The new battery manufacturers do not use PFASs as a coating on the binders. However, since you are recycling old batteries, the probability is you will come across batteries that have this 0.05% of PFASs. So how do we get rid of them? Or can we get rid of them? So ironically enough, the one process that can get rid of them, in fact, the only process that can get rid of them, is our process. And that's not only us saying this, right? The EPA has done one brief on PFASs, and the EPA has found that an afterburner running at 1,000 degrees for 2 seconds residence times will get rid of all the PFASs. Our current afterburner, we're running at about 800 to 900. We're looking to tweak that to 1,000. In addition to the EPA, we've engaged Montana Tech and Cornell. Cornell are one of the foremost institutions that are researching lithium-ion batteries and recycling in general of batteries. And they have done research for us, and again, found that PFASs get destroyed at about 900 degrees Celsius.
Okay, there we go. Destroyed. Can you destroy an element? Can you destroy a fluorine ion, Danish Mir? What's the temperature? How hot do you have to raise? How hot do you have to bring the matter to for the matter to turn into energy? What did you get in physics class? What kind of a grade did you get in physics class? Matter is conserved. You cannot destroy it. You can change it into something else. You can perform, an endothermic reaction. I think endothermic is a reaction where it actually consumes heat. Exothermic means it creates its own heat. This is endothermic. You have to heat up these batteries in order to get this process to happen, okay? It doesn't destroy these compounds, Danish Mir. That is gaslighting.
In addition to Cornell, Montana Tech has also done some research for us that says that these PFASs are destroyed at 900 to 1,000 degrees. So my point being that if we did not have this thermal process, this afterburner, we would have a PFAS problem. A very minor one, but we would. This takes care of the problem, right? So the emissions level, I keep saying low emissions, and I alluded to this earlier. I wanted to articulate what low emissions mean, right? The dioxins. So our level of emissions is about 25 times lower than the DEC's limits.
Stop right there. We have to talk about that. That is a very common math error that you hear a lot of people make. 25 times means what? Does it mean more or less? In other words, if I have $1 and my friend over here has 25 times how much I have, does he have more than I do? Yeah. 25 times means it's a greater quantity. And he's saying it's 25 times below? Does he mean 1/25th as much? Does he mean that their emissions, that the limit is 25 times higher than what they emit? The limit is 25 times higher than what they emit? All of those other alternatives make sense. Saying that something is 25 times below, that doesn't make any sense, because 25 times is more, below means less. Okay? So I don't know what he's saying there. It might be more gaslighting, but we need to be very precise in terms of our math here, and he should explain that better. You know, not that I even care, because my whole raison d'etre right now is to get us an environmental impact statement and get us on the path to a coordinated review and an environmental impact statement. We're not on the path for that right now. Well, we're all wasting time with these dog and pony shows. This is the second one. There's going to be a third one tomorrow. Now it's managed by Stephen Donnelly and Associates, public relations. In other words, BS artist. That's what this guy is. Gaslighting artist. You know, their whole purpose is to confuse us, and by engaging in with them and by paying attention to this, we're all wasting our time. But anyway, this seems to be a lot of interest in this, so you know, I'm just recording it for the historical record. But I'm just saying, this is a bunch of BS. It's just gobbledygook, you know, PR speak. It's pure diversion, distraction. It's you know, incomplete information. It's deliberately vague and managed and focus grouped by their professional PR guy, whose job it is to keep the community confused. So that's what this is all about. So anyway, just don't get excited about what this is, because this is nothing at all but a distraction, basically.
25 times lower. A lot of other industries that are way up there, we are 25 times lower. The fluorine, we are 100 times lower than what the DEC limits. These are all in our permits. You can look this up. This is all stuff that can be checked, right? We've also done a lot of modeling for the air permits on the chimney. There's been a lot of talk about our chimney height and so forth. As you can see, the analysis says that the water vapor coming out of our chimney is going to go straight up and not spread down on the fields or the homes in the nearby.
Water vapor, really? Is that what it is, Danish? It's water vapor. Once again, this is what they're doing. This is what they do. You make up these terms. They make it try to sound benign, like their hydro process. It's, you know, nice clean water. Water vapor, well, that sounds like steam. It ain't water vapor, friends. And there's a big page in the application. Go look it up. You can actually find the application yourself if you go up to tinyurl.com, Endicott Battery Incinerator. tinyurl.com/Endicott Battery Incinerator. You can get a whole... I actually need to do a major update to the Dropbox, okay? There's a lot of information up there. It's not 100% up to date, but there's a lot of stuff up there. And you can get the application, and you can look at the big table in the back describing all the nasties that are going to be coming out of this thing. And to say that it is... What did he say? Let me just replay it.
We've also done a lot of modeling for the air permits on the chimney. There's been a lot of talking about our chimney height and so forth. As you can see, the analysis says that the water vapor coming out of our chimney is going to go straight up.
There it is. To say that it's water vapor is just, it's gaslighting. Okay, I'm going to let it roll for a while. Here we go.
And not spread down on the fields or the homes in the nearby vicinity. This is pretty much a very summarized copy of the presentation, just because we wanted to make the main points that were coming up. So I'm just.
Donish, if you can go ahead and maybe just step back to, for some of the folks, because I did invite some folks from our neighboring counties and some of some of the people that obviously are in the region. Maybe just give them a little bit of a overview, right, of the company and obviously why you guys came to Endicott, things like that. I know that seems a little bit of a step back, but I think just for the folks that are here, that would be a helpful context as well as this information.
Sure. So a couple of reasons why we came to Endicott and to New York, for example. We're a New York company. We know the permitting process is a lot easier in other states, but we wanted to support our state, our community. New York State has been working very hard to label itself as the new frontier in batteries and energy source and technologies of the future. We wanted to participate in that, so we made a conscious decision that we would come to New York. As far as Endicott, we had been talking to the Southern Tier, and they kind of wanted to make this area an excellence of battery recycling, energy, storage. As I'm sure you guys all know, Stan Winningham, the Nobel Prize winner for inventing the lithium-ion battery, works across the street from us in Binghamton. We have I3 there. So this is battery hub forming, and we wanted to participate in that. In addition, there are a lot of physical aspects of the building at Endicott that we really liked. As I mentioned about all our emissions, as you can see, we're 100 times lower, 25 times lower. The building in Endicott is probably one of the most robust non-military buildings in the world. So we wanted to get a building that was 100 times better than we needed, right? I'm not sure if you guys are very aware of what's in that building, but it has walls that are like 2 feet thick, concrete. The unlikelihood that anything ever happens in that building, it's going to be contained in that building. So these are some of the reasons why we wanted to come to Endicott. The other thing is that the past of Endicott has left a very sore spot in many people's, for very good reason, and a lack of trust. We thought by bringing in a clean business that recycles, shows that you can have growth, you can have industry without the pollution. And those were the main reasons why we wanted to come to Endicott.
Thank you, Donish. I appreciate that. And where do you see, just again for the benefit of the folks on the call here, where do you see, maybe just go over like a little bit of a timeline on your process? I know right now you're working very closely with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Maybe go through a little bit of the process for folks, just to have a better understanding of, we know obviously a property and what you've kind of identified in Endicott, but just maybe going through that process a little bit, again, for the folks to understand what a timeline looks like.
So, we have been working with the DEC and the community for the past 2 years. we are at the point now, I think we have to answer some last questions. And what we've done is we don't want to just answer the questions ourselves. We want to go to third parties and have them answer the questions. So we've engaged Montana Tech, we've engaged Cornell to answer some of the questions that the DEC has asked us. And we're kind of having an open dialogue. There were some comments made earlier this week, or actually end of last week, saying that, well, the DEC has asked these guys questions and they haven't come back. Well, we could answer those questions right away, but we want to come back with science, right? And not just, we don't want to get into a game of he said, she said. Whatever we come back to you is based on science. We want to get this process done as soon as we can so we can start building our facility. We've cleaned out the building. We've already spent $1 million, and we want to get this process rolling as fast as we can. And we want the community to be 100% comfortable that we are there. And that's the reason for these calls, is to have an open forum to make you guys understand who we are, what we do. There's a lot of fear mongering. There's a lot of stuff based on erroneous information. We're here to give you the facts. And we believe if we just give you the facts, people will make the right decision, because it's a pretty common sense decision.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it, Dennis. You've been very transparent. I mean, I personally live in Endicott. I have kids, 2 kids, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old that live and go to school in Endicott. And, so from my perspective, I think it's a great project. However, I understand that you've been very gracious and transparent. We want to continue to be. What I'd like to do at this point, Dennis, unless you had something else you wanted to add, is I did want to have some open dialogue. The one thing that I'd like to ask people to do is, if you can please, only because some people just have phone numbers on here, if you could please identify who you are, and then any questions you'd like to ask to the Sungeel team, please feel free to do so. But I want to give time for dialogue as well.
Should we just start talking, or are we raising hands, or what are we doing?
I think you can just start talking. I mean, we're all on here, so yeah, I think go ahead and we can just go ahead, Eric. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Rick Matteries from the Town of Union. My first question is, people are comparing the operation that's going to happen, that you're planning to happen in Endicott, with the operation that's going on in Korea. Those, from what I gather, those are not the same operations. Is that correct?
Our operation is only a part of what happens in Korea. There's a lot of other stuff that also happens in Korea. So what you can say is our part of the process here is like the first part of the process in Korea.
Okay. So I mean, one of their comparisons is your plant in Korea is isolated. It's not in any neighborhood, so you can do anything you want over there, and it's not going to have any adverse effect. Whereas this one is in a neighborhood, and so I think it's very important to understand that the first process is not comparable to what's going on in Korea, so that you have the same transmission of dioxins and gases, whatever. So is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, you can say that our process is the first process, but I just want to make a couple of other points also, right?
Sure.
The reason why the Korean project is where it is, it's mostly because of economic incentives to be in a certain zone, industrial zone. And it has more to do with that than anything else. The second thing is, there were a lot of pictures floating around of Sungeel's neighbor's chimney, taken from Google Earth. Sungeel's chimney. Sungeel's chimney is like 75 feet high. their neighbors do something else, and they have this really tall chimney. And there was a lot of news out there that, oh, well, look at the size of the chimney they have there. They must need it to disperse their. No, that doesn't even belong to Sungeel. That's another industry that's neighboring them.
Well, if nobody else has got questions, I can ask a couple more.
I just wanted to say another thing, right? Is if we are being compared to the Sungeel facility, they have not had an accident in a decade. So as far as a safety record, I think we should maybe be compared to them instead of incinerators in Belgium, which we have nothing in common with. So.
Okay, so then one of the other complaints is that the data that was given to the DEC was produced by you over a short period of time. It is not inclusive. It is not a long enough testing period, and it was done by labs not approved by the DEC. What do you have to say to that?
So first of all, when a new facility is being built, most people, the data that they give to the DEC is data that they get from models. We gave them actual data from actual tests. So I think what people are getting a little confused about is ongoing monitoring and testing for permits, right? And those are completely different things. The data that was given is from a company called Eurofin. They're recognized worldwide. I do believe the DEC recognizes them also. So I'm not sure where that came from. But regardless, they're a worldwide company. And I'm not sure why anybody would question their data. Unless they didn't want a plant built in Endicott.
So again, from one of the concerns is that there was a significant underestimation of HF into the in your data. Is that I don't know how to address that.
You know, that's a very good question, because I get a lot of questions where I'm like, how do I even begin answering? So far off left field, right? Couple of items, right? We know about how much fluorine is contained in the batteries, and the research will show that. But there's another important point to remember, right? That our Korean sister company has been doing this for a very long time. If this was the case, you would see their emission levels go through the roof. You would see their piping start to disintegrate after a very short amount of time. None of that is happening. I'm not sure where people are pulling this information that we've got these high levels of fluorine. No one's been able to give me something scientific backed up on where they're getting this from. Just because a professor says it doesn't mean it's true. He's got to back it up with evidence. That's how science kind of works.
So going back to something you said earlier then, there will be continued monitoring. If this facility is built, you will continually monitor the air quality that goes out into the atmosphere.
Yes, we will do that, and we're actually talking to the DEC about going way above and beyond what's required. You guys may not know this, but we've actually agreed with the DEC to emission levels that are exponentially lower than what we're allowed, because we're very confident we can make those. So we are doing everything we possibly can as far as trying to put the community, the DEC, at ease on what we're doing.
Let me see.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your questions.
Well, I try to get answers from both sides. And I have one last thing then. they're comparing your process to chemical releases from fires. That's apples to oranges, is it not?
Yeah, they're comparing our process to a lot of things, except to our own process, which is rather. Number one thing is people keep comparing it to garbage incineration, right? We are not getting rid of garbage. We are not getting rid of batteries. The components are too valuable for us to get rid of them. Laptop batteries and cell phone batteries, we pay to get them. Why would we burn something we get paid? We pay someone to take. It makes no sense. I mean, at a very basic level, it makes no sense. Forget the science. We pay for a product only to burn it. I mean, let's get a little serious here. The second is a fire is an uncontrolled event. We have an afterburner, we have a scrubber, we have a boiler, we have all sorts of mitigations. This particular presentation did not show it, but we have a lot of safety protocols. We've got building in thermal sensors where we can sense if the heat is going high in a certain place, sprinklers automatically go on. We're using very high-tech fire suppressant stuff. So all the safety and beyond, we have taken into consideration.
And I lied. I do have one other statement question. Sure. When we talked back in, I don't know, maybe January or February, I asked the question about the outfits that people who work in your facility would be wearing. Are they wearing hazmat outfits?
No.
Or is this just regular
stuff, regular work clothes?
Because that's another thing that's out there, that the process is basically a hazmat process, and employees all have to be seriously outfitted with hazmat uniform.
Got your safety boots, your hard hat, you got your sleeves covered. It's the basic work, that you need to work in a factory.
All right, I'll be quiet now.
Please ask away.
Very, very good questions, Rick. Appreciate that. And Donna, just as you're talking, I think the process equates to a resident and a business owner that we're all very familiar with, I believe, on this call, which is Adam Weitzman, who owns a lot of scrap yards and scrap metal recycling. Totally separate business, has nothing to do with Sungeel. However, the reason why I'm mentioning that is we all know here locally, in the areas that he does scrap metal recycling, right? He takes it to a certain level, and then he ships it off by rail car, truck, or boat, whatever the case may be, and then it gets turned into a new product, right? It goes to a smelter, or goes down to a steel mill to be turned into a new product. So those kind of things, I mean, and we all know, again, that he's been here, and they've been here since the early 1900s doing that kind of business. So the reason why I draw that comparison is that it's not exact apples to apples, but at the end of the day, it's still recycling, right? And so I want to make sure that's understood, because I look at what Sungeel's doing as at least from the research we've done, as a very close comparison to what a lot of scrap metal recyclers do by taking it down to processing at a certain level, and then that processing then goes into a new product at a different location and different services, which again, Sungeel in their particular industry aren't doing. So our goal again is to educate and to make sure that the appropriate and the proper information is out there. And again, full transparency, I think Don would agree, we want to answer all those questions. We want people to ask, and we want them to be educated, which again is the whole purpose of this particular call. So Rick, I think those were excellent questions. Thank you for chiming in. Is there anybody else that has any questions that we can answer at this time?
Yes, I have a question. This is Heather Staley. I'm a councilwoman on the Town of Union Council. A lot of residents have been asking me, is there any way elected officials would ever get a chance to get a tour of the facility and see it in action, so to speak?
Oh, of course. That's a given.
Okay. Please let us know. I would definitely be interested to see how the process works and exactly what the mystery building.
We're actually looking at, once we get operating, is to start actually building a small little education center within our building where we would invite schools and so forth to come in, and we would educate them on recycling in general, but also on how to recycle lithium ion batteries. These batteries are going to be powering everything we do. We need the safest, best way possible to recycle them. And what's lacking in the United States is the whole impetus to recycle. It's also lacking in other parts of the world, but for example, in the EU, they legislate recycling batteries. So by law, they have to recycle them. So they have recycling rates above 50%. Here in the United States, our recycling rate is below 5%. So the best way to increase that is to educate the young people of today that their future depends on us being able to recycle as much as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely. Can you please identify yourself?
Yes, this is Sandy Della Penna Bauman. I am also a councilwoman on the Town of Union board. And I've got a couple of questions that I just have in my head. You mentioned that you only transport the amount of batteries that you are going to process for a particular day. And you say that the first burner reaches a temperature of 600 degrees Celsius, and the afterburner is as high as 900 degrees. If I noted that correctly, how big is the containment area that the batteries go into? In other words, how large is that burner? Is it a closed system? Where does the powder drop to the bottom where it's like cleaned? Or is there a chimney that, things are emitted from? I'm just trying to get a picture of what that process looks like. Because I'm just reading it. I'm not seeing it.
So the whole process is, the whole heat treatment process is done under a vacuum. So none of the emissions or anything escapes into the building or into the atmosphere. It all goes through the gas handling mitigation systems. The actual size, Tom, can you probably jump in and let me know what the actual sizes are? You probably have that.
Yeah, Donish, we're talking about a tube that has a diameter of 4 feet, and it's approximately 80 feet in length. That's the kiln itself. With the solid products, the tube is at an angle going from the inlet to the discharge, and so the solid products that are being heated are going from the top end by gravity as the tube rotates. It takes the solids to the bottom end and discharges them into a cooler. And then with the gases going off the top end of it and over into the afterburner.
Got it. How thick are the walls in those burners?
The inside, the kiln itself is a 1/2 inch wall thickness. Half-inch thick steel, stainless.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Sandy. Any other questions that I can answer for you? That we can answer for you, Sandy?
Yes. Hello?
Hi, Donna. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Is it possible that they could shut off the presentation so we could see the speakers?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. So, Dennis, we just got to stop screen sharing
Yeah.
on the very bottom.
I'm sorry.
Make me the host. I can do it.
There we go.
There you go.
I have a comment and a question. Not so much on the science about what you're talking about. First of all, I'm sorry, introduce myself. I'm Assemblywoman Donna Lupardo. I represent the Endicott area. I also saw the Endicott area through what was arguably one of the most controversial periods in their history, with a huge underground pollution that came from a legacy industrial process. The community is generally on edge about pollution in general. And while many of us understood the battery complex theme, the cluster idea, and understood your process this way, I think we may have underestimated the underlying level of anxiety that exists in that village. And out of respect for the folks who are now thoroughly engaged, I think I want to comment to you and ask for how you want to approach this. That I'm not sure education is really going to do the trick, because at this point people are afraid. I mean, they're genuinely afraid, and we can't diminish that fear, and we can't really diminish, the people who have raised these arguments. So I'm just wondering if there isn't a way to engage these individuals, not in a large format, because I think that brings out a lot of controversy, but to really genuinely engage the principals who have raised some of these concerns. These concerns are thoroughly legitimate in their minds, and certainly, I'm sympathetic to everything they've talked about. But that's the thing I would like to hear about, is how you plan on engaging those individuals.
Okay, I just got to make a quick commentary right here, because this is more Donna Lupardo. I mean, I'm somewhat happy in that she is beginning to show signs that she's backing off from her hardline positions. So I think that is that's a good thing. Really, I think it is a good thing. But in terms of Donna Lupardo's responsibility in this whole thing, it's been pretty bad. She's been really a promoter of this thing from the very beginning. I can show you easily, we can bring up this initial press release that was issued by Empire State Development back in September of, I think it was September of 2018. So she's known about this thing for quite some time. She either didn't know it was an incinerator, or she did know, and she was doing basically propaganda work. Instead of being an elected, honoring her duties as an elected representative to follow the law and to basically, perform her duties up there in Albany in such a way that she actually tries to help her constituents or work on their behalf. Instead of doing all that, what was she doing? She was actually working to promote the industrial polluter that wanted to come here. And you know what? That's not the first time she's done this either. It's not. It's not the first time that she's done this, because she was no help to us whatsoever when we were fighting the stink trucks. In fact, I believe she knew about it back then, same exact thing, and she just didn't do anything for it. So I just want to say, once again, I just want to, this is, sorry about that. Let's just talk about this slide right here. So I have to change the size of it a little bit so that it fits on the screen correctly. Sorry. Give me 1 second. So Donna Lupardo was actively engaged in this PSYOP, okay, with PSYOP, psychological operations, which is what this Stephen Donnelly and other public relations people that are involved in this thing are doing. So once again, let's go through this. I did this on the train wreck stream that I tried earlier. Let's just go over this really quickly. I have a lot of experience with dealing with these public relations people in the oil and gas industry, which I have, I do a lot of work exposing the harms of the oil and gas industry, and these PR people come after me, like Tom Shepstone and Jim Willis and Fela McAleer and all these types of people. So I'm really familiar with their techniques and I've studied public relations. The one classic book is called, what's it called? It's Sheldon Rampton and John Stauber, called Toxic Sludge is Good for You. If you want to learn about the techniques and about what this business is all about, that's a great book to get. Toxic Sludge is Good for You by Rampton and Stauber. All right? But if anybody mentioned hazardous waste incinerator, Donna Lupardo would call it a recycling facility. And she'd start talking about Imperium 3 and Stan Whittingham. That's called a deflection and a conflation with something that's completely irrelevant, okay? That's what Donna Lupardo was doing. And the other one that Donna would do is, instead of calling it a hazardous waste processing facility, she would call it green manufacturing. And she did this from the beginning over and over and over again. There's no way you can possibly, with any kind of stretch of the imagination, turn a recycling facility into manufacturing. I mean, you can with like a real stretch of the imagination and a stretch of the English language, you can. But it's really kind of disingenuous, and it's not very nice, and it's gaslighting, and it's basically kind of a form of lying. And that's what Donna Lupardo has done from the beginning. She promoted this thing from the beginning. She gaslighted her constituents from the beginning. I'm just telling you, that is a matter of fact. It's a matter of the public record. That's what Donna Lupardo did. So that's just a natural fact, okay? So let's get back to the video and let's listen to more about Donna Lupardo's sudden change of heart. So, like I said, I'm grateful that Donna Lupardo seems to be having a change of heart. I am. That she's... but she needs to do a lot more. And she's talking about, just not everybody. Let's not invite everybody. Let's just invite the, small number of people. Maybe I could be one of those small number of people, because I've done the most work on this of anybody in this village. So I hope somebody, there's going to be some kind of expert panel, bring me on there, okay? Not just No Burn Broom. Okay, they've got a monopoly on the chemistry. They've got that handled really, really well. Nobody else knows the seeker process like I do, and a lot of other details about this process. So, sure, I'm open-minded to some kind of a forum, a community forum, where we actually have the stakeholders and we actually engage in an accurate way. Like a debate where we can put the evidence on the table. Let's hear what Danish Mir, how he responds to Donna Lupardo's request.
I know you're going to be doing something tomorrow night. I appreciate that. They're already upset that there's no dialogue there. Would it be the worst thing in the world to bring in, the 5 or 6 or 10 principals and really engage them with the professor from Cornell and DEC and some of these other folks? I'm just kind of curious about that. I worry that we may be underestimating the level of fear and anxiety that is really present in this community, and I have to honor that as their representative.
Sure, Donna. You hit the nail on the head when you said bring in the 5 or 10 people that are making the outcry, right? Our initial meeting that we had, the Huron campus auditorium, our goal was to sit there, and we were there for, I don't know, a couple hours, is to explain everything to them. People usually fear the unknown. So we were trying to explain everything to them, but we got into a position where we were not being heard. People started screaming. We could not.
Sure.
in a dialogue that would make sense. We kept giving information. There was a lot of misinformation about our plant that was going on.
So it's a really bad audio. Donna's got some background noise there, and she's like, sure. Everybody said, if you listen to the audio tape of the March 10th meeting, you're going to hear where all of them, from Thomas Fusillo to Cheryl Chapman to the mayor, all basically were saying I should have been arrested because they were doing the same kind of BS. And it wasn't just me. There were other people. There was a few other people in the audience, too, that were heckling these people because they deserved to be heckled. They were talking lies like they always do, and I was calling them out. And I'm not afraid of these people, and I'm not afraid of, getting arrested and getting thrown out. These people came. I've got the video. I'm going to put the video up. I'm going to put the video up because they keep talking about this meeting like they didn't get any chance to talk. It was their meeting. It was inside here on campus. It wasn't even a neutral forum. We're down in the basement. There's security guards everywhere. Okay, and these guys are basically coming in. They're foreigners, and I don't even mean just the people from Korea. I mean, this guy's not from our area. He's from White Plains somewhere, right? And, same with Glendon Archer. You're going to hear from Glendon coming up here. So these guys are coming into our area. There's nothing good about this thing for us. There's not even going to be any tax dollars. They're renting the building from here on campus. So they're not even going to pay any taxes. So there's no good for Endicott from this thing, and anyway, so I consider me to be basically the police force, because the DEC basically has environmental law is zoning. It's police powers, like we told you before. It's not zoning. The enabling statute for the environmental conservation law in New York talks about health, safety, and well-being. It's exactly police powers. I showed you the chart before. So if the DEC isn't going to enforce the law, and our own village officials, the mayor and Cheryl Chapman, aren't going to enforce the law, and they're just going to get out the grease for these guys, well then guess what? I am going to enforce the law, and I'm going to talk back to these guys as they try spreading their lies and BS. So this is going to be on my priority. I'm going to find this footage, and I am going to publish it just so that we get the record out there, what happened in this meeting, because I did act out, and I think it was perfectly justified and justifiable, and these people were talking like I should have been arrested, okay? That's what the mayor and Cheryl Chapman argued, that I should be arrested. Go back and listen to that tape, okay? So we do need to have a community forum, and we need to have it, be honest and fair.
Our initial response was, let's wait, let's see what happens, because people realize this is not what we are or what our process is or what we do. But that never happened. So we started engaging these outreaches. Look, we can try to do something like that, but there's this old saying that no matter what you do, no matter how well you do it, there's always going to be somebody. And, that's something that scares us, right? You cannot, no matter what you are doing, you're in politics, you know this better than anybody else. If there are 100 people in a room, you can't please all 100 people, even if you are doing something that's beneficial for all 100 people. But we are very cognizant of it. People think that we don't understand. If anybody understands, it's us, because our project's been delayed. We've had a lot of issues. And so we really understand that there is a fear. And, we're going to go on, for lack of a better word, on the offensive to teach people that you have nothing to be fearful of.
To teach people, okay? To teach. That's their whole idea is. They have an agenda, and they don't want to teach. They want to impose their PR narrative upon us. And the people of Endicott ain't having it. Thank God.
There's always going to be one or two people that, for whatever reason, do not want us there.
Yeah, with just with all due respect.
So I just want to say, I'm not against this facility. I'm not, because any good scientist ought to basically allow yourself to be persuaded, and any good citizen, you have to allow yourself to be persuaded by the, oh boy, what happened to my camera? What happened to my camera? There we go. I'm back. So any good scientist has to be persuadable if you're going to be honest, if you're honestly going to do science, okay? So I am persuadable. My main objective right now is to make sure that everybody here follows the law, and that's not what happened here. And the people that violated the law was the DEC and the village trustees, two of the trustees plus the mayor. So I'm looking for the law to get followed here, and they haven't done that so far. And there's been a lot of shenanigans that have happened that have basically makes these people look like they're bad faith actors. So I just want the law to be followed, for starters.
I don't think it's one or two people. I mean, there are lawn signs up, and there's elected officials. I mean, this is something that people are very worried about. I would like us to just think about a different way of engaging in, so that we could get some folks to a comfort level here, if there's one to be had. I've written to the DEC on their behalf. I've asked a number of questions. I'm expecting to get some answers back. I mean, I have to, I'm going to do my legitimate homework and help people understand what's going on here. But I really do fear for the general, for the community at large, that, may not really be able to process what you're talking about. And so I worry about this project.
Can I jump in, Donna?
Yeah,
Donna,
please.
my name is Glendon Archer. I'm part of the project also. And you are concerned that the community are not processing things properly. Can you suggest?
Well, I'm not judging whether they're processing it properly or not. I'm saying there is a set of alternative understandings of what's going on here, that I'm just not sure how to accomplish the type of full engagement that you were referring to earlier. I mean, we really appreciate this conversation, but there is a perception that if there is a perception that people have that the facts are being manipulated and it's being presented in a controlled fashion, it's hard to have, to build trust. And I was just, looking
we are prepared to present the facts. And we cannot determine whether people will perceive those facts as being manipulated or not.
Mm-hmm.
But we are always ready to present the facts. I think everything we have presented are factual. The fact that Danish has talked about the Korean operation, what they do, and what we're prepared to show, I think if they were not factual, we wouldn't be prepared to do that. What we are looking for people like you that have your fingertips in the pulse of the community is advise. How do we engage people and change their view to the facts rather than engage people to have a shouting match?
Well, and if I can step in for 1 second too, Assemblywoman Ricardo. We just started the education process. By no means is today or tomorrow the end of our communication. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We have a very, very extensive education and communication plan that's already been put forth that myself and Stephen Notley and Associates, as well as the folks over at Sungeel, are going to be doing. As we said, there's transparency. We want to bring those folks in. And this is just the beginning of that education process. And by no means is the only time that we're going to be engaging with the community. We're going to be doing ongoing events. In fact, I hope with some of the COVID, hopefully restrictions being lifted, that we can do more in person, things like that as well. However, obviously this is our first forum to do this. However, we will be rolling that out. We will be putting out a lot of information. We want to give people the opportunity to speak, the opportunity to voice their concerns. So I think I speak for everybody on the Sungeel side as well to say by no means is there any kind of a lack of desire to educate, because I think at the end of the day, that's really what's going to help to alleviate some of those concerns. That's only going to be done by really sitting down, as you suggested, Senator Lombardo, with some of the principals that are involved and really have those discussions. This is just an initial, hey, here's some information. We can share this presentation with everybody that wants it. They can email us, we can send it. But we're going to have a lot of information that's going to be coming out, and it's going to be that continuous process. So I just want to make sure that was understood as well.
Yeah, I really think that, you know, they deserve that that forum. They raised the PFAS issue, and lo and behold, whether or not, you know, the way you've described it, I understand, but nonetheless, you know, they had been talking about that for a long time. And, you know, I wasn't fully aware of the percentage and the casings and the older battery situation. That was very informative. But nonetheless, you know, that was a very big issue in Hoosick Falls and another community that have faced contamination from that. I just cannot underestimate. I just cannot, emphasize enough how fragile this place is in terms of the history of pollution. You know, people have made this mistake in the past. You know, the drilling community made this mistake, and they thought they, you know, were going to come in and everyone was just going to welcome them with open arms. And people said, no, we have a history of groundwater contamination. So anything that even remotely can be interpreted as a potential pollutant is going to raise everyone's shackles. And I'm highly sympathetic to it.
Donna cares so much for you. Well, you know, Donna, if you cared, I'm glad to hear you starting to show some concern. I really am. And I should be happy and I should be very, very grateful that you're showing some concern about all this. But how many times did I call your office, Donna, in 2018? I'm sorry, I would say from September 2019 till about March or April. At some point I quit. I talked with your staffers plenty of times. I never talked to you. Could never get a call back from you. And you continuously did this gaslighting, on the news, on the TV news media, in the press. Green manufacturing over and over again. How many times did you call it manufacturing? It's like a new manufacturing. Anytime there's a new manufacturing facility that comes to town, manufacturing, you always conflated it with Imperium 3 and Stan Whittingham. You always would call it a recycling facility. Did you ever tell anybody it was an incinerator, Donna? No, that was Bill Huston, the only person in this town that figured out what this thing was long before. I mean, God bless Paul Conant, and he was very helpful to me from the very beginning, but I didn't talk to Paul Conant. I didn't ask a PhD. It doesn't take a PhD to figure out this is an incinerator. You look at the basic facts, and I did the foils, and I showed you earlier, even in this presentation, where the EPA called it an incinerator. So, I'm really, really happy that that Donna Lupardo is starting to seemingly come around. But it's a little disingenuous. I want to see a lot stronger statements from Donna. Keep going, Donna. This is a good start. But if you want to do your backpedaling, and and it's a good time for people to backpedal from any kind of support for this project, because I'm telling you, the FBI is going to get involved here. And if they're not already, I know there's been at least, I'm not going to say what the N is, but I'm guessing it's probably more than 2. There's been more than 2 complaints to the FBI already, and to the Attorney General, more than 2 complaints to the Attorney General's office in general. So this looks really, 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 really bad, and wait until you see the show that I have a show. It's probably going to be at least an hour long. It's going to be all about Stephen Donnelly. And when you see how Stephen Donnelly connects to all these people, you're going to see that what a powerful character this guy is. And Donna Lupardo is connected to him. She sent her staffer, Chris Whalen, to his opening. I don't know how this guy is connected to all the politicians, but he is. He's very, very good at that. And they're all seem to be hooked into him. So Donna Lupardo I hope you're listening to your constituents a little bit, and maybe not so much to Stephen Donnelly and Associates and the Sungeel or Sungeel reps. You better start paying attention also to here's what I want to hear you say, Donna. I want to hear you talk about a Type 1 seeker review. Can we say that? Type 1 seeker review. Please, let's all say that together. The Type 1 seeker review. It's easy. Let's say it all together. Shall we? Shall we? It's the I don't know what to do with this. Let's put it up here. Because I can move my head. There we go. It's the Type 1. Oh, it's in front of my head. That's good. It's the Type 1 seeker review. Okay, Donna? And I also want to hear you say, what's the other one? There's another really kind of a keyword I want to hear you say. Let's do it like this. Let's do Type 1 seeker review, and let's do a it's not so much what Sungeel is going to promise us, Donna. It's what the DEC is going to do it. We want to do there's the coordinated review. There's 4X. I hate how you can see my typos as I'm typing, but that's what it is. So, there we go. So this is what I want to hear you start saying, Donna. It's great that you're listening to the people are concerned, but what is super important right now, Donna, as a legislator, which you are, this is the stuff that was denied to us, okay? A Type 1 seeker review. We got an unlisted action, okay? So we were denied a coordinated review. That's the comprehensive review that talks to, the neighboring municipalities, the 2 school districts, Broome County Emergency Management, New York State Department of Environmental, the DOT, Department of Transportation, also Department of Health. These are typically the agents that are involved in a coordinated review. We didn't get one. We got a half-assed coordinated review on the zoning change. Nobody did a coordinated review of the facility because the DEC misclassified this as an unlisted seeker action. So all you people in No Burn Broome, all you people watching this on Facebook and on YouTube, I want you to start repeating these things. This is an easy thing. And No Burn Broome, for some reason, this isn't on their radar, and they won't let me talk on their calls, okay? I always get shouted down by these, couple of loudmouths that really do have great individual, contributions, but they don't recognize my authority in anything because I don't have those little fancy, I don't have a pedigree, and I don't have those little letters at the end of my name. So they don't listen to me, but I'm telling you, this is the pathway to what we want to go, okay? If you want to kill this thing, I can't say that I want to kill it. I want to kill it as is, definitely, most definitely. If you want to kill the incinerator for Endicott, this is what we got to start asking for. A Type 1 seeker review. We want a full comprehensive coordinated review, which we were denied, and the DEC lied about it. And we also want 4 public hearings beginning with scoping. Okay? Donna Lupardo. People call Donna Lupardo and tell her these 3 things. Type 1 seeker review, comprehensive coordinated review with all the agencies that are typical. Okay, 2 school districts, DOT, DOH, Town of Union, Town of Vestal. Get them all involved. Broome County Emergency Management. Frank Evangelisti knows all about this, okay? This is what he's done for years and years and years. This is what we want, Donna. I mean, Frank's done the coordinated reviews, okay? So I want Donna Lupardo to start saying this stuff, and I hope you call her. Call Donna Lupardo's office. Do you want me to get her number on the screen? Let's do that, okay? Donna Lupardo, and we're going to do 607. I'm going to tell you what her phone number is to her office. I'm going to put it on the screen, okay? Give me 1 second. Here it is. Okay, so Assembly Member Donna Lupardo. And my computer is being a little slow for me. Being a little slow. So it's 607-723-9047. Okay, let's put that on here. Where's my generic text box? This is call Donna. Here's Donna's number. I'm putting it on the screen. This is her office. I'm not doxing her. You can look this up anywhere. Look it up on Google or DuckDuckGo or go to her website. Call Donna Lupardo's office. Oh, here you go. You got to see it. Now you can see it. Call Donna. This is really important. This is what we need. We don't need more meetings. We don't need more community forums. We don't need anything like this. This is the process that we were denied. Donna Lupardo, 607-723-9047. A lot of you have her email address. Call her, write her, hit her up on social media, and ask for these 3 things. She's not hearing us. Donna, I've been telling her this stuff for months and months and months and months and months and months. She doesn't listen to me. She might listen to you. If she gets 50 phone calls that all say the same thing, she might listen to us, okay? She might get it. She's a little bit slow. Turning Donna Lupardo is like turning a battleship. You got to start about 20 miles out because it takes so long. It's just got so much mass and some inertia, you know. You got to start turning it like 10 miles before shore or else you're going to slam into the shoreline, okay? So we need 20 people to call Donna. Ask for this. No Burn Broom isn't the only group, okay? And this isn't on No Burn Broom's radar. For some reason, I can't explain it. I'm just saying they aren't into this stuff. They're all into the chemistry because they get these loudmouths that dominate the calls, okay? There's more to it than just the chemistry. There is the process. The process. Please, somebody out there, hear me. Call Donna, get Donna to demand that the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation follow the damn law. This should have been a Type 1 seeker review because of the zoning change, the necessary zoning change affecting more than 25 acres. In fact, the size of the industrial zone is more like 560 acres, okay? This is clearly a goof up by the DEC, and we're going to sue the DEC. I'm hoping that I'm not going to say that. Let me just say that somebody's going to sue the DEC, and if nobody with a pocketbook is going to sue the DEC, I'm going to do it, and I'm a very, very poor person, and I just want to say once again that I work in the public interest, and nobody pays me for this work, and I'm $1,000 in the hole, and I live on the verge of homelessness. So if you enjoy and appreciate my work, I need some people helping me with fundraising to keep this show going, okay? I need to raise $1,000 PDQ. You know, it's great that you've all been raising money for Claudia Bramer, and Claudia is fabulous. I mean, I really I adore Claudia Bramer. She's a great attorney, and I really don't say that about many people. Okay, So I'm just saying, I need your support. I can't do this work without your support. And I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been protecting Endicott when the DEC doesn't do it, and the village board doesn't do it, and nobody, no NGO, Sierra Club doesn't do it. So, you know, nobody's doing it. I'm doing it through the Bill Huston podcast, through Terra Vigilante, through Stop the Bomb Trucks. I have a lot of different groups, a lot of different programs that I'm working on. So if you can, make a donation, because I need it right now, okay? I need a serious infusion of cash. Please help me if you can. Let's go back and let's listen to more Donna Lupardo.
To tell you, highly sympathetic. So yeah, the degree to which you can engage these folks, and I think there may be something very important to be learned in the process of this community and what they bring to this situation. So thank you.
Absolutely. We all live here together, so I 100% agree with you. We're not dismissive of anybody's concerns. We just want, again, as to reiterate what Donna said, to make sure the facts are known and people are educated. As you saw from just the brief glimpse of the presentation, there's a lot, right? There's a lot of science. There's a lot of things, and that's at a very high level. So there's a lot of details that are involved, and we understand that. The folks from Sungeel understand that. So at this point, we really want to make sure that we're being proactive in our communications and putting that out there. So I really appreciate your suggestions as well, Assemblywoman.
Thanks.
Stephen, if I may, this is Rick again. They published a white paper that was given to the media last week. It's got several of the concerns, some of the things that I brought up today. But would it be possible for you guys to do a counterpoint presentation to this white paper to show what is relevant, what isn't relevant, and where what the difference is and where the facts are?
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic point. And that's exactly the kinds of things that we already have underway, Rick, as part of our communications plan. So as those things that are coming out, again, I really emphasize that word communication, because that's really what this is all about. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's not anything that's there. We really do want to be transparent. We want to list those things out. And I think those concerns that people have, we want to talk about those. We don't want to, let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about the positive stuff. We want to hear from the community. We want to engage the community. We want them to see, obviously, as we see it internally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got a few comments.
Oh, yes.
I'm Pat Dorner, Village of Endicott trustee, and you're probably not going to like some of my comments, but I've listened to yours, and you can listen to some of my concerns.
Sure.
Number one, you keep trying to sell this as a process, recycling of batteries. Most people think of recycling, they think of a dismantling of something and distributing the parts, but none of those involve incineration or burning. That's part of the sales pitch that sounds kind of slick, but I'm not buying it. I haven't bought it. Part of the complaints we get was part of the DEC review. They indicated coordinated review. It's a total outright lie. That was challenged by the village attorney. And after the meeting on February 28th, at Donna's office, things changed. And our attorney got marching orders to try to develop this law to allow zoning change, to allow your company to come in. And that's where the battle started. And I heard you earlier talk about dioxin limit being 25% lower than required. Here's that data shown, since it wasn't the protest group brought to the attention of the DEC the PFAS data, not shown on the permit process that was at the library. That library, beginning to end, are carcinogens listed. most battery, like when you think about recycling, thinking of carcinogens that go into the air, the properties that are 50 to 80 feet from buildings. So the people do have some legitimate concerns. The DEC was brought to the attention by the protest engineers and chemists. The village hired a third-party engineer who rubber stamped the permit process, and the only way, in my mind, to prove what kind of emissions are true is to get somebody to go over there, an independent group, and test the stacks in Korea, because today a yearly emission over a 6-hour test in one day, not knowing what was being burned, or not burned, but in the system. You could have had a bunch of non-battery stuff in that conveyor belt, for all I know. I don't trust a word that data given. Everybody's been rubber stamping it. That's why the chemists and engineers on the protest team are fighting like crazy for the truth. Number two, I heard Rick Matteries talk on an audio on March the 10th that you had with the mayor and the deputy mayor, and trying to sell them scientific health issues is like selling ice cream to a kindergartner. You ought to be ashamed to try to snowball them flowering all this stuff. You said that everybody's going to be wearing normal outfits. And on Sungeel's website in Korea, they do have hazmat suits on. So that's another lie that has come to pass where we're having trouble believing what you guys are saying. Produce that video. I'll get it to you. No problem. Three, a lot of the complaints that village people have is the legal process. Doesn't involve Sungeel. Protest group brought up 7 action items to sue the village during the DEC process. They're strongly recommended by the village attorney to turn course, rescind that law, and either start from scratch or alone. So there are people on the protest side. They're not bozos. They're not yes. There's like 5 doctors on that committee. It sounds like Dinesh Donna asked you a question about meeting them, and it sounds like you'd rather duck them than meet the contempt of a couple of loudmouths. So I think you're dodging the issue. And lastly, I have a copy of an EPA letter we sent you back on 16, 2019, indicating that your apparatus is an incinerator. So trying to smooth over this, saying it's not an incinerator is important in my opinion. So as you can probably well know, I'll still be against this project. I know a lot of politicians in the area pushing this thing, but we'll just have to see where it's fall after various attorneys and various. This thing has gone to the White House even, and we'll see where it lies. Okay, thanks for listening.
Was any of that a question, or was that all a comment?
No, I just got a vent because I've been hearing the way this meeting was presented by Mr. Stephen Donnelly, that they educate us on the facts and subside myths. All I've been hearing is myths from day one since I became a trustee in January, and I've been researching this thing heads and tails. And you're very smooth, Dinesh, but you're not smooth enough. Go a little over my eyes. Just wanted to let you know that. Okay.
Dana, I think I made my point. I think that there's a lot of issues with the DEC and internal politics and Endicott, which we don't want to get into. We can just tell you what we do. If you don't believe us, we can show you the science. If you don't believe the data, we can get a third party to show the data, but we really can't do more than that, right? If there are issues with the DEC and the town of Endicott, that's I don't know what input I can have in that.
The protest group has asked Sungeel for data or questions that the DEC sent you, and now you're going to go to a third party, Cornell, or how are they going to justify these numbers? What access do they have to the Korean stacks to find out the truth?
They have access to science, right? And whether it's in the Korean stack or the German stack or the American stack, science is science, right? And they will use principles of science to determine what the facts are. I mean, I don't know what else I can tell you other than that.
I guess nothing. Yes. Same old stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Dorner. Appreciate it. Any other questions that we can answer for anybody?
Yeah, this is just a quick question, which I've heard kind of throughout from Sungeel is that right, there's just a few people who are causing a lot of noise in Endicott. Who are the people that support it then? So I'm just going based off of media reports on how much public subsidy that the project is getting, and usually those come with some type of public support. And I'm just curious as to who's behind the support of this type of operation in Endicott.
We've gone around and talked to a lot of the business owners are supportive of who's a Nobel Prize winner in batteries. So I think you should know a little bit about batteries. Is supportive of.
There it is. Let me show you the chart. Where's the chart? The magical chart. Okay, I gotta get rid of this so you can see. My bandwidth is there it is. Bandwidth is back to green. Okay, so once again, what did he just do? Stan Whittingham. Always, they do this. They call it a recycling facility. They conflate it with Imperium 3 and Stan Whittingham. He just did it. That's a psyop. Stan Whittingham has nothing to do with recycling. That's not his expertise. He's a PhD, and for some reason, he seems to be supportive of this recycling facility, but that's not his area of expertise. So I'm just saying this is always what they do. They conflate Stan Whittingham with the recycling facility. Okay, let me just get rid of that. Sorry about that for the interruption. Let's just get back to it. Okay.
It's usually that the people that are not supportive tend to be more vocal than the people that are supportive. I think what we have to do is get the people that are supportive to be a little bit more vocal, because we do have a lot of supporters there. I just don't want to make it seem like there's just people against us in the town of Endicott. There are people.
No, so are there letters of support? Like, does Stan have a letter, something that we can read as to why he's supportive of it?
But we can start collecting those letters. That's.
I think that would be a great idea if you could.
Yeah, and Tom, this is Stephen out again. Sorry. So yeah, we will. We are in the process already of collecting that information. In addition, we will be hosting additional sessions that will not just include myself and the folks in Sungeel, but we will be incorporating some other subject matter experts as well to help in that education process. So to answer your question, those are all things that we are forthcoming on. And everybody has to understand that, obviously until we even knew, and Sungeel even knew that there was a lot of these concerns, we don't have any way to address it, right? So that's really what we're trying to do now is answer the questions, answer the concerns, work through some of those things, and then obviously have that supplemental information. But as Donish had referred to, I mean, there are thousands and thousands of supporters. I can confidently say that. And, we are in the process of collecting that data. And we most certainly will share that as appropriate as well and continue in the education process as we go along here. But we'll be transparent on that as well.
Has the school district changed their stance, or are they still against the project?
We had a conversation with the school district. Of course. I can't speak to them. So at the end of the day, I think a few of their folks are on the call here today. I mean, obviously they're more than welcome to chime in as well. Again, I think they, just like anybody else, have questions, right? And I think a lot of it comes down to education. And so I hate to keep saying that. I hate to keep going back to that, but I think a lot of it's going to be that information of really truly understanding what's going on, the science behind it, and really what's going on here to ensure that they feel more comfortable. And again, I don't want to speak for the school. I know there's a few representatives that are on here. However, I feel confident that at the end of the process, and when I say end, during our continuing education here, that I do feel that a lot of folks will have more of that comfort level. And I would be very surprised, as Donna said, there are going to be folks that obviously are not supportive, and that's okay. However, I do feel like once folks really truly understand the science behind it and support that is generated and that's behind the project, that it might make a bit more sense. But we understand that will also take time. As Assemblywoman Lopardo had indicated, there are concerns, and we don't want to dismiss those. We want to continue to educate people. We want to continue to go through that. And same with the school and the school board. We want to allow them the time to digest the information and be able to be properly educated before making a decision.
No, and I just think the one thing that's lacking is the support from the hearts and minds of the natives. And, you can go up and down, the north side of Endicott. And I think, if you took all the restaurants and businesses there and got their support, I think you'd be in a different situation today.
Good point.
Yeah, and we are we're in that process as well right now, Tom. So appreciate that, and that's very good feedback. I do agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think it would just be important if someone who's right there, whether it's Skyview Apartments, whether it's Joe Restaurant, whether it's Oaks Inn, Councils, Antonio's, Carolyn Mancini on the corner there, right? All those businesses that are right in that neighborhood, that if they came out and said, no, this is good for the area, I think those types of community people, that would make a big difference.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think the one aspect that I'll say is that, we all collectively wish, including Sungeel, that we probably would have started the education process a little bit sooner. Now understanding, obviously, where we are today, that there is some concerns that are out there. And we are in that process of doing everything that you're talking about, Tom, on our end. So, and collectively, so we are working on that, and we will make sure that we have the proper support and documented support from the necessary folks. So I definitely appreciate that.
No, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, Stephen, it's Nicole. How are you?
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Good. This is Nicole Wolf. I'm the superintendent of the Union Endicott School District, and there's a few of us here on the call. There's the assistant superintendent, and there is the Board of Education president, Dick Testa. I just wanted to clarify that, you know, a while back, Dick Testa and I, we were watching the village public hearing. And when we were watching, we saw that there were so many questions that were really going unanswered, that people felt like their voices weren't being heard, that we felt compelled to write a letter to not take a side, but instead to just say that we felt that it was important for our community to have more time and more information to really process what was going on in order to make an informed decision. So I just wanted to put that out there that, you know, we haven't changed our stance on remaining neutral throughout this process. But when we hear things like, you know, the children's safety is at stake, and, you know, that there are things that are going to be harmful to our students, it certainly raises a red flag. And then on top of it, you know, folks saying they're going to move out of the district because, you know, it's not a good place to live anymore. It kind of goes back to what Donna Lupardo was saying earlier about it's really an emotional issue, and the facts are the facts. And I think that people are also confused about what that is. But at the same time, if there's not a way for people to process and express their voice, you know, I think that's really what needs to happen at this point. So I'm just going to ask Dick Testa, I know he's on the call, if he has anything to add, but I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.
Dick, did you want to chime in at all? I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you do want to chime in, please feel free to. Okay, I think we're good. Any other questions that anybody might have for us? All right, well, at this point, I'm going to conclude, but please feel free. Again, I really want to emphasize that, I think, Dick, did you want to say something, Dick? I saw you just unmuted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't have my thing unmuted. I'm very disappointed that Mr. Agostini, I don't know if he's read the letter, but the way he interpreted it, I just want to reinforce what Nicole said. We are not for or against. We, like everybody else, just felt there was not enough information provided to the community by the Village of Endicott board. And we wrote them a letter saying that, would you please give us more information and more time on this decision? And that's all we're asking for. And I believe that's all anybody is asking for. So please, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that the Union Endicott School District is not against this proposal.
Appreciate that, Dick. And like I said, we listen. We understand his emotion, and we're not gonna be dismissive of it. You know, we're going to be proactive in the education, the communications going forward. And you know, on our end, you know, we want that. We want the dialogue. You know, even going into today, we want to make this dialogue session. We're doing a public session tomorrow to go over a list of questions that the public submitted, and then from there, we'll be doing additional public events where people are going to have that additional dialogue. So that's really what we want to do. We want to hear the concerns. We want to understand, you know, the dynamics that are out there, and we want to help to properly educate people on the facts of the project, and obviously making sure that the health and safety of the community, its residents, its children, and everything else are protected. So with that said, if there aren't any other questions,
Stephen, I have a comment. Stephen, Glendon Archer here.
Oh, sorry, Glendon.
Look, we've been going in circles throughout this whole process where there's a lot of distrust, and one gentleman earlier said that Donish was being cute. Look, I think we've reached the stage, and in light of what Donna said, where we are prepared to chat with whomever to give them the same facts that we're giving today. And whomever wants to put that meeting or together, we are ready to do it because we have zero to hide, and we're prepared to share the facts, both from Sungeel and both the scientific facts. But that's something we need to get done quick. As soon as the community is ready, we are ready to share the facts, and then let's go from there.
Thank you, Glennon. Agreed.
Right.
I would like to thank everybody for their time today. This is hopefully helpful for you. And again, if anybody wants the presentation, we're happy to share with anybody that was sent. We will have forthcoming communications as well as public forums like this. And exactly what Glennon said, there will be opportunity for dialogue. And quite frankly, the only reason why there isn't dialogue tomorrow is just to control from a time perspective, because we did have a lot of questions that were submitted, really good questions that had concerns, that had things that were in there that we'll be going over tomorrow. And just in the interest of time for the first session, that's why that communication isn't occurring. Now, going forward, like I said, we will certainly be opening up for communication, and we welcome, as Glennon indicated, any type of dialogue with anybody in the community. I don't care if it's a resident, a business owner, any type of political figure, whatever the case may be. So again, I want to thank everybody for the time. I appreciate it. The folks in Sungeel, thank you so much for attending as well. Hopefully this is informative, and we'll look forward to communicating with you all here in the near future tomorrow.
Hey, Steve.
Yes.
You need to fix your sound system if you're going to have a community conversation tomorrow. It's really difficult to hear people talking.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, it is and I appreciate that, Brenda. It is a little harder. We do have a new microphone that's coming in from our IT company. So it'll go on the table right now. It's hooked onto the TV, so we're just set back a little far, but we do have a new microphone coming in.
Well, even when Pat was speaking, he was asking a lot of questions. I couldn't understand what he was saying. So if you're going to have a community conversation, you got to make at least sure that people can hear you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Unfortunately, some of it's related to internet connections from folks and whatever, and some different microphone issues. Eventually, what I'd like to really do is hold it in person, right? So we can all see each other. We can be there, obviously, properly social distancing and making sure we're following guidelines. But that would really be the ideal scenario, and hopefully we'll do that in the very near future. But we will make sure again to look at the sound and do whatever we can on our end to improve that.
And just as a final comment, because I just sat here and listened because I'm not part of your immediate community. My name is Brenda. I helped bring this project to New York. I work for Empire State Development, which is the state's economic development agency. I was really excited and proud to bring this project. I believe very strongly that battery recycling is essential and only going to get more essential over time for a variety of reasons. I honestly have spoken with both the Korean and the White Plains-based companies. They've always been forthright, and New York State did put support behind this project, so I hope that you can work this out. Thanks.
Thank you, Brenda. Appreciate that.
Stephen?
Yes.
One other thing, I think part of the problem with Pat is he leaned back, and so he was not speaking into his microphone. You might want to instruct people to speak directly into their microphone and not face one way or the other and lean around.
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, again, Zoom has become almost like a natural thing for all of us now at this point for meetings and such. But absolutely, we'll try to coach the best we can in terms of helping people utilize the technologies. No problem whatsoever. I appreciate that feedback.
I hope it goes well tomorrow.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Take care,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Donna, you can just hit end meeting on your end. Thank you.
Boy, have I been on. I hope my camera wasn't on that whole time. So, anyway, that was it, friends. That was the big show. And I was just talking to my friend. I'm going to call you right back, friend. I'm going to call you right back. I'm live streaming. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. Just got to wrap this show up. Bye. Okay. So, okay. So, what did you think about all that, huh? what was that about? Was that amazing or what? Let me just put up like a still shot of this thing. Okay, I know what I want to talk about, actually. I'm going to let that thing go. I'm going to stop that. All right, so just give me a second, friends. I'm glad you're still... How many people are still hanging in there? Is there anybody that's watching this live? It'd be amazing if... looks like 3 people. That's cool. Okay, let's see. Brett reminds me of Mega Energy. Oh, you mean... Don't you mean... Wasn't that Inflection Energy? No, Mega Energy Investable. They were facing criminal charges in Alaska. In Alaska. Are you thinking about Inflection Energy, Brett? Inflection, Investal? I'm trying to remember what was going on in Vestal. Who was the Mega Energy Investal? Because Inflection Energy, they had their roots in an Alaskan company. I think it was called Evergreen Resources. I think that's what you're talking about, Brett. I think you're talking about Inflection Energy. Okay, now is the closed meeting with only a quorum of the elected officials. In PA, that is a violation of open. So they invited a quorum, I think. I don't think a quorum showed up, or they weren't all identified. But you're absolutely right, Brett, because this is a very dubious kind of thing, isn't it? That whole thing about who was invited, who was on the call. I think there needs to be an investigation. And I think somebody needs to reveal who was invited and who was actually on that call. And if you don't even know who was on that call, not everybody was identified. Some people just came on with a phone number. So we might have had a quorum. Nobody knows. Nobody will ever know. This was highly, highly, highly dubious, legally dubious, like really bad stuff. So I'm still trying to find the exact window. Where's my window? There it is. Okay. So this was I have a much longer presentation on this that I'm working on, and it's going to be nice and smooth and coherent. But so this isn't going to be so perfect, this version, but I want to get some of this information out there. Okay. I want to get it out fast. And I'm going to try to refine it as I go, okay? So, first of all, Stephen Donnelly is... If you watched my last live stream, I kind of ended it with... let me see if I can find which one I'm talking about. I'm overdoing my computer, so... But my last live stream, basically... Hold on. I'm doing too much with my computer. I don't know why it locks up like this. Just stand by for 1 second, friends. I'm having a digital seizure of some kind. Stand by. Okay, it does seem to be somewhat freed up. The digital seizure appears to be over. Not quite. Not quite. It's not really snappy like it normally is. It's not super snappy. But it's getting back. Oh, that's the wrong one. There's a lot of proficiency that is required in doing anything, and especially in being a live streamer. You know what? To my friend that is... I'm not going to call you back right away. I'll call you back later because I'm working on this. I'm just going to... Because it's fresh. I'll talk to you. I'll text you when it's over. Or something, okay? And maybe you can watch it. All right, so... Stephen Donnelly. is at the center of all this. My last live stream, I asked the question. I said, this all sounds like a script. I wonder who's writing it. And then all of a sudden, Stephen Donnelly in a major way. And I started looking into the background of this guy, and he's pretty notorious, and he tends to do public relations for just people in the trash hauling and waste treatment kinds of businesses. He works for Adam Weitzman, Upstate Shredding, and he's actually employed with him. And he's got different kinds of side gigs that he does through his Stephen Donnelly and Associates. Okay? He seems to be connected to everybody. He's connected to all the politicians. He's connected to, people that do... he's just connected to a lot of different kinds of... I see... I'm getting some computer hang-ups again. I don't know if that's affecting what's going out or not. Just stand by 1 second. I wish I could figure out how to... I don't know what could be eating my CPUs. My CPU cycles. Try that. Okay, that might help a little bit. So... I've known for some time stand by for 1 second, I'm very sorry. And let's do CPU, OBS. Firefox is chewing. I can probably close a bunch of Firefox windows. I'm just going to try to keep going. All right, so public relations is PSYOPs. All of these industries use the exact same techniques. Okay, advertising, public relations, and also psychological operations, which go on in the military. Okay, all of these things are very closely related. Now, in America, we don't tend to think of American citizens as being the victims of PSYOPs. But if you ever receive industrial press releases disguised as news that are presented without fact-checking or counterpoint, that's a PSYOP. And here's who's doing it. Gannett. The owners of, I'm going to update my localism in broadcasting paper that I wrote about 12 years ago. I'm going to update that, and I'm going to tell you who all the owners are. And I've been beginning this research. It takes a while to put it all together, but it's like Town Square Media is one, and they own 5 stations. And then there's what used to be Citadel. It's changed names a couple different times. And then there was Clear Channel. Clear Channel, the entity that now owns the Clear Channel licenses is called iHeartRadio. And so the iHeartRadio local subsidiary owns 6 radio licensees, and most of them are all robotic. Okay, so, and they don't hire a lot of local. Now, Town Square Media, at least, God bless them, at least they have the morning show. It used to be Talk with Tony, and now it's Binghamton Now with Bob Joseph. And sad to see Roger go. Roger did a lot of interactive stuff with the community. So the radio people that are actually really doing something, involved in a community connection, that's a very, very important resource. And that's, but Clear Channel doesn't do any local programming or whatever. iHeartRadio, they don't do any local programming. They barely have any DJs. It's almost all, voice tracked, automated, crap. there's a couple of local operators, and they do hire local, actual human DJs, or they did it sometime. I don't know if they still do or not. I don't know. I'm gonna research this again. But the point is, the toxic industries are in cahoots with the media, and they're in cahoots with the politicians, and they're in cahoots with the regulators, and the job that ties all these corrupt entities together like a gang, like a syndicate, like a crime syndicate, is the public relations people, like Stephen Donnelly, okay? And I'm going to tell you what they do, okay? They are like Shepstone. They're spies. They spy on people, and they find out personal information, like people in the resistance, okay? They will try to separate them from the other people in the resistance. They try to create wedges and divisions in the resistance, okay? That's coming up. You can look for that, okay? They do all kinds of other things, too. So they use these language games, okay? Tom Shepstone is a master. I mean, he really is. I enjoy reading Tom Shepstone for the creative writing that it takes, because he's the guy that comes out and says things like, fracking makes water quality better, or John Holko out there in Western New York. Lenape Resources. He said something like, "Oh, all of the animals in the forest, they love fracking." Like he was saying, bunnies and deer like fracking, so, or they like pipelines. Something ridiculous like that. So this is the language that they use. They spin a narrative. It's a war, only the war isn't using guns and traditional weapons. It's a war on our mind. And the language is the weaponry, the language that they use. So, when Donna Lupardo, she sounds really concerned. I'm really happy to hear Donna sounding concerned. But you know what? Donna has been spouting this green manufacturing. She takes a hazardous waste incinerator and she calls it green manufacturing. So this is PSYOPs. Donna Lupardo is spreading PSYOPs. So is Jason Garner. So is the people that are working in the mainstream media, like Jeff Platsky. Okay, Jeff Platsky said he wrote his most recent article, or as of maybe a week or 10 days ago. He talked about the people against. He didn't talk about the people against the incinerator. He called it people against recycling. Like, what? People against recycling? I'm not against recycling. I'm not even really against incinerators. If you're going to bring an incinerator to my village, you better follow the New York State environmental law. That's, let's start there, okay? So these public relations people are the people that are spinning this crazy narrative. Once again, the narrative is the weapon. This is weaponry. There is weaponized, military-grade PSYOPs being used in this area to try to confuse the people about what's going on and to try to deceive them into showing some kind of support for this thing, okay? The reason they're having these dog and pony shows like you just watched, right, just before this, the reason why they're doing that now is because they're in trouble. When you have artists, kids showing up and with hand-making signs, and that delightful video of that young girl had the smokestacks behind her. This is killer. This is killer. When the grandmothers get engaged, there's no way. This thing is DOA. When the moms and the grandmoms and the kids and everybody, it's like the kids in their baseball outfits looking with the smokestacks in the background. That is killer. So they have a crisis on their hands. This is what's called crisis communications. Look it up. It's a particular kind of public relations campaign. It's called crisis communications. They've got a crisis. We heard on the tape of the Pat Dorner was talking about the March 10th meeting. There's a tape of that. I'm trying to get tape of the February meeting, and they've so far ignored my FOIL request. They've been doing pretty good keeping up with my FOIL request. Thank you, Janice Orlando and Anthony Bates and all the people there that do the hard just grind of, a lot of the running a village is pretty mundane. So thank you. God bless all of you for doing this kind of work and keeping up with it. So I appreciate you keeping up with the foils. But so far I haven't gotten my FOIL request for the audio of the February meeting hasn't been even acknowledged yet. So anyway, I got a couple of foils I'm working on. The point is, Stephen Donnelly, this guy is connected, and he's connected to all of it. And the craziest thing is Edward Bernays, Propaganda. Read that book. Ooh, who traveled 2 counties over? And Robin Asbaugh, Empire State Development, okay? He's connected to Empire. Who pushed this thing from the very beginning? Gave $2 million worth of public money? Empire State Development. See that guy? He represents Empire State. This is Jason Garner, the Broome County executive, and his assistant executive. They both went. What? This is... I played some audio before. There's something coming up, an actual produced piece. I'm going to do better. I'm going to make something, a really powerful package where we're going to play Matt Pizzarella and Matt Carmichael from Southwest PA, working in the oil and gas industry, talking about you got to read. If you're in the public relations industry, this is the book they recommend. I'm not kidding. This is the book. Where's the camera? They say you got to read this book. The PR people are saying you got to read the Counterinsurgency Handbook. And he says, this is an insurgency. We are the insurgency. To them. Uh-oh. That's what I wanted to... I don't need that actually anymore. We are the insurgency. I want you to hear this really quick. This is a little short clip. Texas Sharon recorded this.
If you're a PR representative in this industry, in this room today, I recommend you do 3 things. These are 3 things that I've read recently that are pretty interesting to me. Download the U.S. Army/Marine Corps Counterinsurgency Manual, because we are dealing with an insurgency. There's a lot of good lessons.
This is how industry thinks of us. This is super serious stuff, friends. We are under attack. We are at war. This is the industry, public relations people, just like Stephen Donnelly, only they're working for the oil and gas industry in Southwest PA. This is an insurgency. They consider us. We're not citizens. We're insurgents. We're in the way of getting these batteries burned, these batteries processed. This big capitalist industrial machine. It's going to make a lot of money for a lot of people. Doesn't matter that it's against the law. The way they're doing it is against the law. They got it in their head that they're going to do this thing, and they don't give a damn about Endicott's local zoning. They don't. So, but God bless everybody in No Burn Broome, everybody in Endicott, anybody that's part of concerned citizens of Endicott, anybody that's working out, just outside of even any particular group. You're just doing your own thing. You're making art. You're making music. You're making videos. You're You're talking to your neighbors. All of that is super good. So it's having an effect. All of your work, all of our work is having an effect. This is what I live for. This kind of organization coming together. This is why I do the work that I do. And we have it here in Endicott. In Endicott. Okay. In Endicott. My screen keeps freezing up. I have something consuming my CPU cycles. I'm not quite sure what it is. One thing that I could do is I could turn off the background. That might help. They consider us insurgents. Okay? The industry considers us. I have an itch. The industry considers us insurgents, not citizens. We have to reclaim our democracy, people. We have to reclaim our democracy. Don't get confused by the people that talk about strict republicanism. I get that, but it's not. The point is, we're not a monarchy, right? We don't have a king. What I'm saying is a lot of people get really twisted up about the definition of our country, whether it's a democracy or a republic. The point is, they're similar in both of these. Basically, they're two different kinds of a democracy, okay? One's a representative democracy, one's a direct democracy. I don't care. What I'm saying is it's self-rule. That's what the libertarians say. The libertarians say this is self-rule. We have to get back to that. Whatever you want to call that. I like, David Cobb from the Green Party, came here. He spoke in Endicott years ago, like probably 10 years ago now. And it means demos is the people. Democracy means the rule by the people. That's what this is. We're not ruled by kings. We're not ruled by priests. We're not ruled by generals. We are the people's rule. That's what this is. That's what we have to reclaim, because right now the corporations are ruling what here. The corporations control, they think they can control the narrative on TV and the radio, and they think they control the narrative via these public relations guys like Stephen Donnelly and having their Zoom dog and pony shows here. Meanwhile, nobody's talking about, and that's the thing. All of the press are obedient because they all mention this Zoom meeting that doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't. This Zoom meeting that happened today and the thing that's going to happen tomorrow, it doesn't matter one bit. Nobody's asking for, we want to have more fucking public relations bullshit coming from the applicant. We haven't had enough of that yet. Give us some more. We want to hear Danish Mir talk more about how this isn't an incinerator. That's what we like. That's what we want. Nobody's asking for that. They're in crisis mode. Sungeel, whatever you call it, these people are in crisis mode right now, and they're doing everything they can to try to buy our consent. And it's, we're gonna talk about the, I've got, Edward Bernays. He's the father of public relations. His book was called Propaganda. What does that tell you? Propaganda and public relations are really essentially the same thing. If we understand, one second. Oop, I went too far. I gotta go back. All right, I want to show you this quote. This is an important quote. I'm going to shrink it up a little bit. All right, if we understand the mechanism, this is Bernays. This is the guy that invented the public relations industry, okay? This is the guy. He was a cousin of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was a psychologist, psychoanalyst. Sigmund Freud did a lot of study about the machinations of the human mind and about how the human mind can be manipulated. This was Bernays' cousin, was Sigmund Freud. Bernays says, as we understand the mechanism and the motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing it. This is the father of the industry that Stephen Donnelly works in, okay? Bernays is very famous for the tobacco campaign, all right? So he was, I don't remember the history in great detail. It's out there if you want to study it. But basically, the tobacco companies were in trouble because there was these studies that were beginning to come out. I think it was in the 1950s or 1960s that smoking wasn't good for you. They knew it. The doctors knew it. So they had to come up with this public relations campaign, and it was Bernays. Bernays is the guy that did it. That's the kind of... I don't want to judge that, because I'd want to say the lowest form of life on the planet. It's just somebody with no soul. Somebody that would when somebody asks how much is your mother, they don't say fuck off, they say how much, or they say I'm sorry, how much for your mother. It's not I botched that, but it's not like get out of here. It's like, let's talk about it, let's try to work a deal out. You know what I mean? That's the kind of people these public relations people are. They only care about $1, and they will take $1 and try to convince you to do something that's going to make you sick. It's going to give you consent for some facility or smoking some bad habit, some bad consumer product that's going to make you sick. That's what they do. It's industrial damage control. That's the primary function of these people, okay? And you're not going to believe the slide that's coming up that connects Stephen Donnelly and Associates with this whole thing, okay? This is interesting here, okay? What this does is he brags about the fact that he's a minority and women-owned business enterprise, whatever that is. And he says, I'm not a women-owned, I'm the MBE. I'm just the minority business enterprise, okay? So, I don't know. He's got Donnelly, isn't that like an Irish name? I don't know. That's kind of a white guy, isn't it? So he's got a white guy name, and I don't know, from the looks of him, maybe he's Native American or Hispanic. I don't know. But he's apparently milking this for some kind of benefits from the state of New York. The state of New York's treating him differently because of his minority-owned status. And here's his other Dynamic Innovation Group. If you ever hear that name, Dynamic Innovation Group, that's Stephen Donnelly. He's doing business as Stephen Donnelly and Associates. There's all kinds of reasons. They go to college to study why you create an LLC and why you do a DBA. There's a method to it, and he studied it, okay? Minority, he claims he's a minority, but this is the most interesting thing here. Who issued this? Look at this. Pursuant to New York State Executive Law, Article 15-A. We'll have to read that, okay? But it is a division of... Let me see if I can... I can't zoom on it like this. This says... Trust me, a division of Empire State Development. He's connected to Empire State Development. He was awarded from Empire State Development. Empire State Development is the one pushing this goddamned incinerator. Stephen Donnelly is hooked in deep to this thing. I just showed you. Okay, this is the one. Are you ready for this? This is my favorite of all time. Guess who runs the Village of Endicott website? So the nasty incinerator wants to come here. We're trying to fight it off We've got 3 village officials that are going, yeah, we want it. Well, why? Everybody hates it. Well, it doesn't matter. We want it anyway. 3 of them, right? Guess who runs the Village of Endicott website and who does their social media? Or did. I think I heard he got fired, but Stephen Donnelly. Like, what? He's every side of this thing. He's working for the people that are giving the money out. He's working for the applicant itself. He's doing some kind of deals with Jason Garner and Donna Lupardo. He's all buddies with them. He's working with the press. He's working with Jeff Platsky, and he's working with the people at BNG and NBF. Stephen Donnelly is working and he's let's read this together, okay? The Village of Endicott is proud to announce. So this is January 30th, 2019. So that's the last year that John Bertoni. This was John Bertoni's last year. This is also right in the middle. Okay, remember, we didn't get our public hearing, our meeting with Western Broom with these people until September of 2019. But they were already in there. They were doing demolition. Inside Building 259, January 30th. They got the demolition permit December 15th, allegedly, December 15th, 2018. They were in the building doing demolition, and their press agent, their public relations guy, takes over the website and the social media for the Village of Endicott. What the F? What WTF? The Village of Endicott is proud to announce that we have partnered up. Who talks like that? Partnered up. We have partnered up. Ding 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 ding. Hello there. This is Joe Tex from Lubbock. And we partnered up. We partnered up with Stephen Donnelly and Associates to assist us with our digital marketing and public relations to better serve our residents. Businesses, there you go, to better serve the businesses and the surrounding communities. Please stay tuned to our social pages, okay? I'm not making this up. Stay tuned to our social pages and the website for more frequent updates and content that will only be informative, but also demonstrate why Endicott is the best place to live, work, and play. I'm going to say this really briefly, but basically, I got last year what I considered to be kind of a veiled threat from somebody that I know pretty well. I've known him for a long time, and he called me up and was basically saying, "Hey, you better be careful." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I think I'm careful. What are you talking about?" He's like, "I was talking to people at the village, and you better be careful." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Why are you saying careful? Careful doing what? I'm careful. I'm careful all the time. I try to be careful." He's like, "Well, I'm just, if I were you, I would be careful." And I'm like, "Listen, man, I don't like the way this sounds. It's starting to sound like some kind of a threat. So stop telling me that I got to be careful, because I understand that. I don't need you telling me to be careful. It's kind of weird. It's weirding me out. It's kind of creeping me out." And he's like, "Oh, okay, but just be careful." I'm like, "Listen, okay, be careful, be careful." And here's what he said. He said, and this was right around the time, I don't remember the exact, I think that was when, I got to look up when Mark Bacon, it could have been close to the same time when Mark Bacon was putting up his signs, because he was basically feeling like he was going to die soon, and he had to get out. So he was trying to, force his hand a little bit, and he put up a big sign. It was beautiful, amazing sign that said, IBM toxic contamination thing. So he got some attention, And anyway, there's a whole big long side story that I just don't have time for, but it has to do with the IBM remediation. Here's an update for the village of Endicott. Most people don't know this. Do you know they're actually pulling out the remediation system? They're pulling pumps out of the ground, they're pulling pipes out of the ground. We never had the DEC. I used to go to those meetings. I've been to most of them, and the DEC hasn't ever closed. They haven't done a final, as far as I know, what's it called? The record of action, something like that. Action of record, something like that, on all the operating units. Chris Pelto says that there has been, but there's still toxic contamination at that site under those buildings. They have to pull those buildings down in order to remediate this place. This place is not cleaned up. Don't let anybody tell you that, Endicott's been returned to the way that it was, with the pristine Garden of Eden way it was in the past, because it's not. It hasn't been restored. There's still a lot of problems here. But what I heard was that there's this group, some kind of public relations outfit that's trying to portray Endicott as being like a wonderful place to live. And looky here, Stephen Donnelly is working with the village, and Linda Jackson also was saying this too in that March 10th tape. Go listen to it. It's on archive.org. So I'm just saying, Stephen Donnelly is a central player to all of this. There's where Jason Garner put Stephen Donnelly, his buddy Stephen Donnelly, on the airport board. What? Fred Akshar loves Stephen Donnelly, and Fred Akshar actually sent somebody to his big WeGo Gala opening, and I'll show you that coming up, okay? Oh, look at this. This is too much. Cover your eyes. I can't even bear this. This is too much even for the fire department, okay? Why does the fire department, thanks to Stephen Donnelly for helping hand and getting the word out. So the problem with the fire department is right now most people don't, I didn't know this until recently, but code enforcement and the fire department are very closely related, okay? Usually, like the head code, we've got two, and I don't remember what their exact titles are, but Brian Botsford is I don't know if he's fire chief. There's Chief Griswold. There's Griswold and Brian Botsford, and they both are very senior firefighters, but they are also very senior code enforcement officers, okay? So I'm not sure which one of them has See, right now, they issued the building permits, okay? And they also, right now, have it in front of them to decide whether or not there needs to be a site plan review done by the Endicott Planning Board on the facility. The planning board, when they met before, back in April, I think it was, they said, we don't know what this thing is. We didn't get a packet. What is this, right? So the planning board is wanting more information. They say we normally get a packet. That's the site plan review. Hasn't been done in this facility yet, okay? The decision, apparently, about whether this gets a site plan review or not is code enforcement. Code enforcement is the fire department. Stephen Donnelly and Associates. Are you getting all this? He's working for the fire department. He's working for the fire department. He's got his fingers into the village website, into the social media presence. How many people out there has been banned from the Village of Endicott Facebook page? I think I see some hands out there. In addition to me, I've been banned. I can't write on there. I don't think I'm the only one. Huh. Stephen Donnelly and Associates, public relations operative for Sungeel, or Sungeel, First time I've heard that pronunciation. Sungeel. 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 I think it's got a glottal in the middle of it. I think it should be Sungeel or Sungeel or Sung. Okay, Stephen Donnelly and Associates is everywhere. He's everywhere. Here's an Edward Bernays quote. The conscious, let me start that again. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. This is that very cynical view of democracy that was talked about by Edward Herman and Noam Chomsky in the book Manufacturing Consent. Their idea of democracy as being this kind of fraudulent fake thing, kind of like a Machiavellian type of a society, which is just a fake. It's a veneer of democracy, which is used by the elites to control society while giving everyone the appearance of being empowered citizens and being able to be in control via voting and being to be a citizen, you have to be informed of the facts. That's what the media is supposed to do. And because of these commercial broadcast licensees mixed with public relations, it's bad enough that all the corporations own the broadcast licenses. Just starting there, that's bad enough. And then half of what the meager little 0.01% of what counts as the news, half of that is industrial press releases that they print or they recite like good stenographers, uncritically and without counterpoint, without fact-checking, okay? Without fact-checking. So the news media is part of this. Stephen Donnelly and these public relations outfits, there's been a coup d'etat. The Chamber of Commerce runs this whole area, okay? They act as a mob, and it needs to be broken up. And I hope that somebody from the FBI's office might be paying attention to this. I hope maybe the Broome County District Attorney, because I see criminal activity here, okay? Criminal gangsterism. This looks like a violation of RICO because it's putting human lives in danger. They're spouting this bullshit. Stephen Donnelly is spouting his public relations bullshit. Look at the Edward Bernays quote. This guy founded the industry. He's talking about manipulating the organized habits and opinions of the masses. This is not a respectful job, a respectable job. Public relations is not something we want to be training people in colleges to know how to do. This is like propagandists, and it's propagandists in a very, very dangerous and harmful way because it's confusing people about the nature of these dangerous industrial facilities, and it's by design. It's by design, okay? Let's keep going. I have a couple more slides. There's another Bernays quote. There's Jason. Oh, this is what they do when they do psyops in Iraq. They print these pamphlets and then they scatter them from helicopters, and sometimes they'll put like little candy canes with them, a little toy, something nice, and they just like fly over. So all the kids go yay, and they chase after them. And I think this is the little Somali boy. I don't know if this is this is their badge, their psychological operations. Persuade, change, influence. Here's the little Somali boy. He picked up one of those flyers, and look, it's like there's explosions going off in the air, and the Hueys are flying overhead, and here's the officer, and it's like, that's the message. Go make friends. Go make friends. They drop these down, and the poor kids. This is the message. This is psyops. Go make friends with the guy that's going to just, put you out of your house, burn your house down, and rape your mother kill your family. Go out and meet him and greet him. That's what PSYOPs is. It's a military technique. Edward Bernays is generally considered to be the inventor. I mean, yes, there were people that came prior. Edward Bernays, look it up. Propaganda, PSYOPs. Here's the Zoom meeting that happened today. Let's see what else we got. I know I got quite a few slides in this group. This modern world. What's so bad about toxic sludge? Just read this cartoon. It's a little bit long. I'm not going to read it right now, but toxic sludge is good for you. This is a classic book on public relations. If you want to understand how I know what I know about public relations, go get this book. There's no affiliate links. I'm just telling you, this is a classic book on public. I probably read this at least. It was prior to the first National Conference on Media Reforms. That was like 2014. So 2014, 2004. I mean, 15 years, at least 15 or 20 years ago, I read this book. This is a terrific book. If you want to understand Stephen Donnelly and what he's doing here, this is the book to read, okay? Propaganda is to a democracy what the bludgeon is to a totalitarian state. This is the very cynical view of a democracy by Noam Chomsky. I love this quote, but it's a cynical quote. He's not talking about the ideal democracy that I'm personally working for. He's talking about democracy as this fake Machiavellian thing that's just this facade. It's this veneer of an actual democracy, but the design of it is actually to make people obedient workers and to just be smart enough to run the machines, as George Carlin says, but not smart enough or not courageous enough to like form a union. That's what they want. That's what they want. That's what's happening here. Please, people, I'm trying to put this information out there. This is really important that you all get engaged in this. I can't do this myself. There's a great Chomsky quote. I'm going to let you read it. General population doesn't know what's happening and doesn't even know that it doesn't know. I don't know if that's an authentic propaganda. This is Edward Herman, Chomsky's co-author in Manufacturing Consent. The propaganda system allows... My computer's locked up again. My computer's locked up. Okay. The propaganda system allows the U.S. leadership to commit crimes without limit and with no suggestion of misbehavior or criminality. Are you paying attention to this? This is how they're doing it. They are circumventing the legitimate form of government. This is a coup d'etat. This is very high crimes that are happening right here in Endicott, and I'm showing it to you. So, this is what they do. This is what the propaganda, this is what the public relations, the advertising, the PSYOPs people, and by the way, it used to be illegal. You should look up the Smith-Mundt Act. This was repealed under Obama. The Smith-Mundt Act. It used to be that U.S. propaganda outlets like Voice of America, VOA, could only point their antennas outward. The people that live here, you're not supposed to be able to consume Voice of America, VOA, broadcasts. People that live in America, even though they originate in America, it's a program of the American government. It's called Voice of America. It's been around for a long time. Back to, my dad was a ham radio operator. He was born in 1915, and he told me about Voice of America. It's been around for ages, 50 years or more, 60 years or more. From the early days of radio, Voice of America. It was a propaganda arm, and there was a law called the Smith-Mundt Act that forbade It made it a federal crime to broadcast Voice of America, American propaganda. They admitted it. It was all above the board. There's American propaganda. It was forbidden to force it upon the American people. But that law was repealed under Obama. So it is okay to propagandize America right now, Americans. And Debbie Lusignan, boy, I wish those videos were still online. Debbie Lusignan broke that story in a major way. And anyway, I don't even want to go there. But the truth is out there, friends, if you seek it out. And these books are still available. And these are the books that I learned from. There are other, this is Chomsky's propaganda model, filters, advertising, the ownership model. I've already talked about this stuff. There's another way of looking at the propaganda model. This is all straight out of Chomsky and Herman. The Chomsky and Herman book. There they are. Oh, well, here is, Empire State Development, Broome County. We've looked at that one before. There's the PSYOP. Okay, so I'm about done. That's about all I have, but I do want to, let me check the chat before I sign off and just see if anybody, I'm not eligible for super chats. So I have to wait for my computer. I have to wait for my computer to unlock itself. Unlock itself. Unlock itself. There we go. It's starting to come back. All right. So. Okay, friends. Thanks for hanging out. If there's anybody still there, it looks like at least one person's still on. Brett says, reminds me of Mega. Okay, and we now close the meeting. Okay, so there aren't any new chats. It looks like the last person might have just signed off, so I'm going to sign off. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you might have learned something. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Thank you for being part of the resistance to these industrial assaults. And God bless you all, and I will talk to you next time. Oh, as always, I better ask you to please subscribe to the Bill Huston podcast on YouTube. That really helps me. If you want to get a summary of the kind of work that I do, just Google Bill Huston's fracking resume or type that into any other search engine, Bill Huston's fracking resume. And there's my email address, williamahuston@gmail.com, William A. Huston, Huston @gmail.com. If you can, please donate to support my work. My PayPal is tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Huston. And at the if you don't do PayPal and you only do USPS, you can always use William Huston, P.O. Box 22, Endicott, New York 13761. God bless you all, and thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.